has subsided.
And I've
It's
read
still
briefs too,
geotech.
it's all been research and writing, and then I don't know when I do
Compacted,
that.
it might be.
Good evening, everybody. I'd like to welcome you to the Monday, July 18th meeting of the Redondo Beach Harbor Commission. I'd like to call the meeting to order, please. May we have a roll call?
Yes. Commissioner Deborah Jackson. Here. Commissioner Keitzer.
Here.
Commissioner Dalton.
Here.
Commissioner Michael Jackson.
Here.
Commissioner Scheer.
Here.
Commissioner Callahan. Here. Chair Bloss.
Here. Commissioner Dalton, would you lead us in the pledge, please?
Certainly.
Okay, the first item is the approval of the order of the agenda. I would like to have a motion, please, to move up items continued from previous agendas to before the items for discussion for prior to action.
So moved. Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, so ordered. Blue folder items, I noticed there were several. There are additional backup material to administrative reports and/or public comments received after the printing and distribution of the agenda packet for receive and file. Did you have any?
No, that's correct. You have primarily your blue folder tonight is comments we've continued to receive since we distributed the package of materials to you. The staff report had correspondence received up until the distribution time. We've continued to receive correspondence, and this represents everything we've received up until 4 o'clock today. I will tell you we have had late arriving emails that we haven't had a chance due to getting prepared for this meeting. Those will be available to you right after this meeting as well. So this represents everything we've received up until 4 o'clock today.
Thank you very much. Consent calendar, business items except those formally noticed for public hearing or those pulled for discussion or assigned to the consent calendar. The commission members may request that any consent calendar items be removed, discussed, and acted upon separately. Items removed from the consent calendar will be taken up under the excluded consent calendar section below. Those items remaining on the consent calendar will be approved in one motion following oral communications. So we have the affidavit of posting and approval of the minutes for June 13th and June 27th meetings of the Harbor Commission. Does anybody wish to exclude any of the consent calendar items? Does anybody from the audience wish to address the consent calendar? Seeing none, may I have a motion, please, to approve the consent calendar?
So moved.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, so ordered. So there are no excluded consent calendar items. So the next item is public participation on non-agenda items. This section is intended to provide members of the public with the opportunity to comment on any subject that does not appear on the agenda for this action. This section is limited to 30 minutes. Each speaker will be afforded 3 minutes to address the commission. Each speaker will be permitted to speak only once. Written request, if any, will be considered first under this section. So does anybody here wish to address the commission on something other than the project, the EIR? Okay. So we do have a public hearing tonight. Are there any ex parte communications? Nobody has any ex parte?
I've talked to a few boat owners prior to this.
Okay.
I received communications from Mark Hansen. I spoke with Commissioner Bloss. I received a communication with the mayor. I spoke with Commissioner Jackson, and I spoke with staff, both planning director and harbor director.
And I spoke with Commissioner Keitzer. I spoke with Mark Hansen and several members of the public. So
I spoke
with Jared.
As did I.
I spoke with Commissioner Callahan as well as Mark Hansen, as well as several boaters and members of the public.
Okay. All right, so we are moving on to the hearing, so I need a motion, I guess, to reopen the hearing, which is for it's item number 7. Waterfront project, consideration of approval certification of a final environmental impact report and water supply assessment, SCH number 2014061071, file number 201404, EIR 001. Facts and findings, statement of overriding considerations, and a mitigation monitoring and reporting program, conditional use permit, Harbor Commission design review, including sign review and landscape irrigation plans, coastal development permit, investing tentative track map number 74207 for approximately 36 acres of development in the Redondo Beach Harbor Pier area, and consideration of the Recreation and Park Commission's recommendations related to Seaside Lagoon. May I have a motion to reconvene the public hearing?
I'll move.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, so ordered. So may we have the administrative report, please?
Good evening. For the record, Stephen Proud, Waterfront and Economic Development Director, Chair Bloss, members of the Harbor Commission. Tonight we're here to continue our discussion of the waterfront revitalization effort. As you know, this is an effort, the most current of which is 10 years in the making. This started back with the 2007 Harbor Asset Management Plan, continued on with the Harbor Enterprise Business Plan. The city has reacquired some of our leaseholds within the waterfront to help facilitate the revitalization effort. And we have gone out and solicited a private development partner that we've been working with to prepare a plan for the waterfront itself. In previous meetings that we've held, you have received the proposed design submittal and discussed the draft conditions for the project. Tonight you have the final documents that constitute the full package of documents that you need to take action on the project, including the final EIR and 2 resolutions. I'm not going to go much further than that. I'm going to leave that to the rest of the staff, but I did wanted to say, while I had a minute, a special thanks to Aaron and his staff for the work that they've done putting together both the documents you have, the staff reports, the resolutions, the EIR team, our legal team. There's been a lot of work that has gone into getting everything to you for your consideration, and I wanted to make sure I gave them special thanks as part of this process. We certainly couldn't have done it without the efforts of all everybody who's on the team. So with that, what I'd like to do is ask Aaron Jones, our Community Development Director, to give you an overview, and then Katie Ostin, who's with CDM Smith, to take you through the staff presentation.
Thank you, Stephen. Good evening, commissioners, members of the public. Tonight, the Harbor Commission will be conducting a public hearing on a very important and transformative project. We began this public hearing process with an introductory workshop in May. We followed that with a well-advertised and well-attended public hearing on June 13th, and then another hearing on June 27th. Tonight will be the 3rd public hearing in this series, and we believe that these hearings have provided extensive public input opportunities and public comment opportunities. During each of these public meetings and hearings, staff and our consultants have been very actively engaged in listening to the Commission and listening to the public. We have responded to all the questions, issues, and concerns raised, and this series of hearings has provided us really a process and a framework, the framework that are necessary for the Harbor Commission to fully consider the waterfront project. It is staff's opinion that the hearing process should be concluded at the end of this hearing, and that it is now time for the Harbor Commission to consider taking action to certify the final environmental impact report and approve these land use entitlements. We have prepared all the necessary documents and resolutions for your consideration. As Stephen said, I would very much like to thank the members of our team for all their hard work and dedication in bringing this project to you. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Katie Austin.
Good evening. My presentation will include a brief overview of the June 27th public hearing, present additional information based on public testimony and Harbor Commission discussion on June 27th, address the final EIR and supporting materials, present some revisions to the recommended conditions, address project resolutions, and then present the staff recommendation. The June 27th public hearing included a summary of the June 13th public hearing, presented additional information based on public testimony and Harbor Commission discussion, and provided an overview of the recommended conditions of approval. This was followed by additional information presented by the applicant. The public hearing was reopened and public testimony was received from approximately 44 individuals, and written statements were received from approximately 27 individuals. The Harbor Commission resumed discussion, and the public hearing was then continued to July 18th. Based on public testimony and Harbor Commission discussion on June 27th, staff will be providing additional information tonight on several topics. The topics are also addressed in further detail in the staff report, and additional information on the topics related to environmental issues can be found in the EIR, including the responses to comments. The topics to be covered tonight are public view protection and Measure G, public access and recreation opportunities, Tidelands Grant, Pacific Avenue Reconnection or Harbor Drive Extension, stormwater, architectural design, and the public boat launch ramp. So first, what views are protected under Measure G? Measure G refers to land use plan and zoning amendments adopted by voters in 2010. Measure G does not protect every view along Harbor Drive or views from private property through Zuliger Park. Measure G does provide development standards which the project must and does comply with. These development standards support development of an active pedestrian area with clustered development, providing pedestrian walkways, usable open space, and view corridors as are proposed. Further, the staff recommended alternative has less development and for many buildings, lower building heights than the maximum build-out allowed under the Measure G development standards. The next topic is recreation. No existing recreational activities would be eliminated under the Waterfront project. There would continue to be direct access to the harbor for activities such as boating, stand-up paddleboarding, and other in-water sports. Commercial recreation that's at the site now would also continue to be available, such as fishing, charter fishing, whale watching, and rental of equipment such as stand-up paddleboards. Additionally, current active and passive landside recreational activities would be maintained, including fishing off the pier, swimming at Seaside Lagoon, the use of pathways and benches for activities such as exercising, enjoying the view, relaxing, picnicking, bird watching, photography. The Waterfront project would also provide new and enhanced public access and recreational features. This includes increasing connectivity by providing an expansive boardwalk and pathways throughout the site, completing a missing link of the California Coastal Trail, providing a new bicycle pedestrian bridge that connects the northern and southern portions of the project site, and it would also expand the bicycle path. There would be modifications to Seaside Lagoon that include establishing a new beach with free year-round public access and a shallow water protected entry. The existing fencing that surrounds the site would be removed. There would also be new seating and play areas, paddleboard storage, and concessions. High-quality public open space with landscaping, gathering spaces, and other amenities would be located both at Seaside Lagoon and throughout the site. Additionally, the sports fishing pier and Redondo Beach Marina would be reconstructed. There would also be space and infrastructure to support programming and events around the site, including festivals, exhibits, and classes. Next topic is the Tidelands Grant. A portion of the project site, including Seaside Lagoon, Horseshoe Pier, the boat launch ramp, and the seaward portion of Mole D, is within the Tidelands Trust area. The city's Tidelands Grant allows for a variety of uses in these areas, including public parks, marine-oriented commercial uses, and visitor-oriented commercial uses. The grant also allows for the long-term leasing of Tidelands, as long as the use is fully consistent with the trust. The existing and proposed uses on the Tidelands are consistent with the trust. The proposed land exchange under the staff recommended alternative, which would exchange a portion of Mole D tidelands for Basin 3, currently designated as uplands. This would better align the water areas with the tidelands and the land areas with the uplands, and it would be consistent with the Coastal Commission jurisdictional boundaries. It would also allow for a uniform lease term at the project site. The Pacific Avenue reconnection, or Harbor Drive extension, would provide enhanced public access to and along the water. It also restores an important vehicle linkage between the northern and southern portions of the site. Regarding the projected number of vehicles that would be using the roadway, during the morning peak hours of 7 a.m. to 9 a.m., there would be approximately 31 project trips. This is approximately one vehicle every 2 minutes. And during the afternoon peak hours of 4 o'clock to 6 o'clock, there would be approximately 74 project trips, or just over one vehicle per minute. It's estimated that 9% of all project trips would use this roadway. The benefits of the reconnection include reducing the number of project trips that would use Catalina Avenue to travel from the northern and southern portions of the project site. Additionally, the reconnection would allow emergency vehicles direct access to the northern and southern portions of the site, as well as linking the project's 3 primary parking areas. Next topic is stormwater. Several questions were asked regarding stormwater flow into King Harbor. First, there are existing regulations and local and regional programs in place to improve stormwater quality and reduce discharge volumes entering Santa Monica Bay. These municipal stormwater system regulations are becoming more stringent over time with the general trend of improving stormwater quality. Currently, there are over 80 small catch basins or curb openings within the harbor that allow untreated or minimally treated stormwater to run off or drain into the harbor. Also, there are storm drains collecting runoff from areas outside of the harbor pier area and the project area that discharge into the harbor and nearby shoreline. The Waterfront project includes a number of stormwater improvements incorporated into the project design, including bioretention, infiltration, and filtering that would reduce the amount of runoff into the harbor and improve the quality. Off-site improvements are outside of the project scope. Now I'm going to turn the presentation over to Aaron Jones to discuss the architectural design.
Thank you. Next slide, Katie. The Harbor Commission had asked a few questions about design, so we felt that it was important to bring this slide forward. Really, design is one of the most important objectives of the Waterfront project because we want to make sure this project ensures a high-quality built environment and one that's very beneficial and will be enjoyed by our residents and visitors alike, and also one that will be timeless for years to come. Staff and the applicant's design team performed an extensive evaluation of design options, given community input on design, which has been a common thing we've heard. And we established at least 5 design principles that went into guiding the development of this project design. The first was that the design should remain timeless. Second is to draw inference from earlier design styles, but not necessarily copy or try to recreate these styles. The time periods that were invoked in this project design include the city's early industrial waterfront, the city's resort period, and our contemporary recreational timeframes. So these are some of the inferences that led to the designs you see. Very important was to avoid monotony and overuse of a single architectural style. This is a very long project in terms of distance, and if you were to create a single style throughout this project, you would absolutely have a monotony of design. Very important goal was to achieve a village atmosphere and a beach town character. And we've heard this again and again from the community, what they like and what they don't like. The village atmosphere, along with being authentic, and as I said previously, avoid copying or trying to recreate appearances of historic structures. So given these design objectives, and after extensive study, it became clear that several design styles were going to be necessary to achieve the village design goal for the waterfront. After examining these periods in history and looking at the project, it was determined that buildings of highest significance, and you can go to the next slide, buildings of the highest significance, those being the market hall, the hotel, and so forth, should receive the most pure references to historic style and the highest quality design treatment. Those include the use of brick, which is a reference to our warehouse industrial waterfront, the use of other materials such as siding and stucco were determined to be more appropriate for the shopping Main Street experience and business district. The Main Street, which runs down the center of this project all the way from the Meistrel statues all the way to the current boat hoists, is intended to be an environment where we think that an eclectic mix of shops and services is the most viable orientation for this segment of the project. If you were to imagine the city's current design character of Catalina Avenue between Avenue I and Palos Verdes Boulevard, starting from HT Grill and working your way down, this is exactly the experience that this plan proposes for the user of this project. What you have are small increments of shops with some freestanding, some inline storefronts, but what you also have is a variety of mix of compatible materials and designs that will achieve the look of a natural Main Street or a place that's grown over time, rather than a place that just landed as a uniform, monotonous design that we so strongly want to avoid. A good example was the Main Street that we've just talked about. And we feel that the palette of materials presented in your design book is in fact a very appropriate and varied use of materials, design, styles, colors. Certainly the massing of the buildings is broken up to achieve that small increment and that pedestrian feel. And we're very happy with the overall design approach for this project. The most critical thing for the project is that it doesn't need to just be acceptable today, it needs to be acceptable in the future. And so it has been, the palette you're receiving this evening or have been reviewing has been selected to allow design freedom, unique and exciting storefronts, and a memorable experience for all the visitors. The proposed design allows interest and creativity, much as the city's original downtown, the old waterfront, and the Riviera Village do in their current evolution. We feel that design will grow over time and be very much an asset to the community. And you'll see all of these design references are real places that are notable to people, that people find enjoyable. And so with that, we are really working hard to make sure that our experience that we're trying to create for the residents and visitors is going to be of highest quality and highest design level. Thanks.
So I'm going to tackle the next couple of slides, and these are related to the public boat launch. One of the things we heard from the time that we made our presentation initially on this topic on June 13th was that that maybe perhaps staff had misrepresented some of the statistics that were being presented to the commission. And so we wanted to set the record straight on that and make sure you were clear on exactly what it was that we presented and make sure that we were all speaking the same language relative to that information. One of the comments indicated that the average usage rate, for example, for the Marina Del Rey boat ramp facility was higher than what was presented in the administrative report. I think that is born out of some confusion of the data that was requested from our office. We received information from Marina Del Rey, and that information was broken into two categories. There was a category that was labeled global pay station entries. Those global pay station entries are the actual entries for folks who are entering that lot to do a launch. There was a secondary column called MPI staffed entries, and that column actually represents, we communicated back with Marina Del Rey. We said, what does this actually mean? 2015, they said those are our staff swipes. So whenever a staff goes by to get access, they swipe a card to go through. That could be for a film shoot, that could be for a maintenance activity, that could be for a lot of reasons, but they still swipe their card and it gets a count. So when we were reporting to you the average daily uses for Marina Del Rey, we excluded those staff swipes because those don't represent boat launches. So what we reported to you at the time was that in our staff report, we said that the average daily usage for the facility was less than 20 vessels per day. If you actually look at those global pay station entries and divided by 365 days out of the year, it is in fact less than 20 entries per day. So wanted to set the record straight on that. On the Cabrillo boat ramp facility, again, the administrative report is correct. The 2015 parking data shows an average rate of 19 launches per day. Now, as I stated at the time, we received information from Marina Del Rey aggregated together for each month. So all we have is all of January's entries, all of February's entries, June, September. So we don't have a daily total for us to be able to see any activity on any particular day. So that's how we received that data. For the Cabrillo boat ramp, we actually did, and I believe I said this at the time, we received daily counts for every single day in 2015. There may have been a few days where some data was missing, but by and large, we had daily counts for that. What we presented were average daily totals, and we noted at the time that they are subject to peaks. I believe I even said, weekends we would expect to be a little higher than weekdays. Holidays we would expect to be even higher than that. So I think we stand by the information that was presented in the administrative report dated June 13th, but we wanted to make sure we cleared the air on those statistics just in case there was some misunderstanding about that data. One of the other things that we've been working on, if I could get the next slide, please, is we have been working on refinements to the design for the boat ramp facility. Our parking lines aren't coming out because they're on the white side, but what we've been doing is trying to take some of the comments that we've heard from the public, from the commission, meetings we've had with stakeholders. We've been trying to take those comments to heart and look for ways to accommodate them as part of our further design effort. What we've done most notably on this particular iteration of the boat ramp facility from Old B is we have expanded the boat trailer parking by approximately another 9 spaces in the facility, and that's really what you see working its way up Mole B. And so we are now at about 32 parking spaces for the mole. So we believe that, based on some of the demand data that we presented, we actually felt pretty good at 23, but we're feeling even better at 32, that we can meet the demand for the use of the ramp facility. We've added an accessible parking space, and one of the things that we've done is we've actually been able to accommodate some different size parking stalls. So starting on the left, the ones that are immediately adjacent to what was the K&L docks, those are 40-foot trailer spaces. The ones in the middle, closest to the channel, are now 50-foot spaces, and the ones that you see encroaching into Moonstone Park are actually 55-foot spaces. And so we've created some variable length in terms of the parking to try to accommodate some of the longer trailer car combinations that could be using the facility itself. So we're working hard to try to meet that need. One of the other things that we've done is we have added some additional single car parking. So by creating a double lined parking situation along Moonstone Park, we've actually been able to create 45 single vehicle parking spaces total. And so that increase in those single vehicle parking spaces actually sort of account for the fact that we utilize some of that middle area for boat launch parking. So we're still maintaining our parking count, even though we've picked up another 9 or so boat launch parking spaces as well. One of the things we've also done, I believe, since the last time you saw this diagram, is in the previous version you saw the outrigger component closer to the boat ramp and Moonstone Park on the other side. We did have a meeting with the Outrigger Club. We talked with them about a preferred location. They said they would prefer to be on that southern portion closer to the Harbor Patrol building. And so we have accommodated that request and flipped that back over to the other side of the diagram itself. We have relocated the location of the hoist. We've actually placed it a little bit further out onto a separate finger, so you would back into that hoist facility, load your boat onto it, and then lower it down onto the queue dock there. So, we believe we have made a lot of accommodations for folks that we've met with, conversations we've had with the Harbor Commission. We're still working this through, but we believe these, what represents these changes here are still within the environmental analysis fit the environmental framework analysis that you're looking at tonight. And so we're going to continue to make these refinements, but we think we've made some significant progress in terms of design. With that, I'll turn it back to Katie.
Okay, now we'll talk about the final EIR and supporting materials. The Waterfront final EIR was made available on July 7th, 2016 at 4 locations: City Hall, the city's 2 public libraries, and online. This exceeded the requirements for state law, which requires only that the EIR responses to public agencies be mailed 10 days before EIR certification. The final EIR includes the draft EIR and an assessment of the project modifications, referred to as a staff recommended alternative. It was determined that the staff recommended alternative does not result in new or increased significant impacts. The final EIR also includes public comments on the draft EIR and the city's responses. The public comments include 568 comment letters and emails and 115 oral comments from 3 public meetings. The city's responses to these comments include both individual responses as well as master responses that address specific topical areas. The responses focus on the disposition of significant environmental issues raised, as required by CEQA, and detailed responses are not provided on topics unrelated to environmental issues. I would like to clarify a couple of questions that have come up on the final EIR. The first pertains to the amount of project square footage that counts towards the 400,000 square foot development cap that was established under Measure G. The development cap allows 400,000 square feet of net new development within the coastal commercial zones as of April 2008. There's currently a balance of 362,989 square feet remaining under the development cap. 3 different square footage figures are cited in the EIR relative to the development cap, which I'll attempt to clarify. Each of the square footages are shown on this slide. First, the draft EIR cited that the cap applies to 290,113 square feet, in which case there would be a remaining balance of 72,876 square feet. This square footage cited in the draft EIR incorrectly included the existing and proposed square footage located in Seaside Lagoon. Seaside Lagoon is in the P-Pro zone and is not subject to the development cap. This was corrected in the final EIR. The corrected amount of development under the proposed project that is subject to the development cap is 275,788 square feet. And this results in a remaining balance of 87,201 square feet. The final EIR also presented the development cap square footage for the modified project, referred to as the staff recommended alternative. Under the staff recommended alternative, Joe's Crab Shack is no longer part of the project site and it would no longer be demolished. Additionally, 1 proposed building would be moved from Seaside Lagoon to the coastal commercial zone. Factoring in these 2 changes, the amount of square footage subject to the development cap is 285,855 square feet, and this results in a remaining balance of 77,134 square feet. So again, that attempts to explain why we have the 3 different numbers. An additional clarification in the final EIR relates to the boat launch ramp at Mole B. It has been noted that the final EIR still references that an alternative boat launch ramp at Mole B was considered but then rejected, even though the staff recommended alternative includes a boat launch ramp at Mole B. However, the Mole B boat launch ramp alternative option that was rejected is a different design than the staff recommended alternative. The rejected alternative was located only on city-controlled land, and the ramp was located in Basin 2. This rejected design would have potential impacts on emergency services associated with the adjacent Harbor Patrol facility, and it would have greater line-of-sight impacts than the proposed project. Those potential impacts would not occur under the staff-recommended alternative. The final EIR also includes some supporting materials that require approval by the Harbor Commission. This consists of the Mitigation Monitoring and Reporting Program, which is a complete list of mitigation measures adopted through the CEQA process. It includes a table that identifies each mitigation measure and the responsible agency or party for implementation and the time frame for compliance. The screen shows what the table looks like. Additionally, the Harbor Commission must approve the findings of fact and statement of overriding consideration, which includes specific written findings for each significant impact and makes a finding that the project's benefits outweigh and override significant unavoidable impacts. The screen shows which of the 14 environmental resource areas addressed in the EIR were determined to have significant impacts. Significant impacts that can be mitigated to less than significant are in the resource areas of biological resources for both construction and operation, cultural resources associated with construction, hydrology and water quality associated with operations, and traffic and transportation also associated with operations. Significant and unavoidable impacts were identified in 4 resource areas: air quality during construction, cultural resources also during construction, hydrology and water quality during operation, and noise both during construction and operation. Next, we'll move on to conditions. The recommended conditions have been revised based on feedback from the June 27, 2016 public hearing. The revisions include minor revisions and clarifications, such as requiring the use of marine-grade materials and providing more clarity in the allowable delivery hours, as well as more involved revisions, such as pertaining to the use and operations of Seaside Lagoon. On June 27th, the Harbor Commission requested a revision of conditions to provide for Harbor Commission review of most final plans. Staff is unable to recommend all requests for detailed plan review. Alternatively, staff is recommending a condition that would retain an administrative review for final designs and plans, but the final designs and plans would be brought to the Commission in the event of a disagreement between the applicant and staff. The wording of the recommended condition is shown on the screen. That in the event of a disagreement regarding the interpretation and/or application of these conditions, the issue shall be referred back to the Harbor Commission for decision prior to the issuance of any permit. The decision of the Harbor Commission shall be final. In response to a question regarding hours of operation for current businesses in the harbor area, a table is shown on the screen that shows the hours of operation allowed by conditional use permits and entertainment permits. And it is difficult to see, but there is a variation in the hours. Some of the businesses don't have hours specified. Other ones vary from 7 a.m. to midnight and up until 2 a.m. There are two resolutions associated with approving the proposed project. First is the environmental resolution. This provides for certification of the EIR and adoption of the facts and findings, the water supply assessment, statement of overriding considerations, and the mitigation monitoring and reporting program. The environmental resolution includes the recommended findings for certifying the EIR. The second resolution is the project entitlement resolution, which grants the requested project land use entitlements that consist of the conditional use permit, Harbor Commission design review, coastal development permit, and vesting tentative tract map. It includes recommended findings that must be made to approve the project. The staff recommendation tonight is that the Harbor Commission reconvene the public hearing, receive and file the administrative report, accept any additional public testimony, close the public hearing, and adopt the resolutions for the staff recommended alternative by title only. And this concludes staff presentation.
Okay, may I have a motion to receive and file the administrative report, please?
I'll move.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, so ordered. So at this point, I would like to kind of follow the procedure that we have done in the previous hearings. And that is, because there's so many people here that want to speak, is to open, they keep coming, to open the public participation portion of the hearing. And then once everybody has had a chance to speak, we will then move on to the discussion of the commission, which we've done in the past meetings. So with that, I'll go through kind of the ground rules here again, and I apologize for those of you who've been to previous meetings, but just to make sure that everybody's on the same page. When you come to the podium, please clearly state your name. We will be calling people up based on the order of the cards that we have received. After we've gone through all the cards, if anybody has not filled out a card and wishes to speak, they can come up at that time. Everybody has, so if you come and state your name clearly, you'll have 3 minutes. There is lights over here. When your 3 minutes start, it's green. When you're down to 1 minute, it's yellow. When it's red, your time is up. And again, I would ask that the commissioners do not do any motions to extend because there's so many people. And however, if the commission wishes to have a motion to extend, I'm going to ask for a vote on that before we do any extensions. I would also ask the audience that there be no clapping, cheering, or jeering, or whatever. We all know that there are people for the project and against the project, and that kind of activity just slows the process down and is really non-value added. So please refrain from clapping or cheering or whatever else. Okay, so we will start with the cards here, and again, I will apologize up front. I am not very good at pronouncing names, and I'm really bad when I can't read the spell or read the handwriting. So again, I apologize if I mispronounced anybody's name, but hopefully you'll bear with us. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to call a couple of the names at one time so that people can start moving forward when they know that they're going to speak, okay? So we can just save time by having people come up to the podium. Okay, with that, we're ready to roll here. So the first one is Laura Zahn. The next one is Andrew Averick, and then Don Zerlup.
Laura Zahn, District 4. Equations of facts. In-demand retail small. Targeting or marketing to or away from a certain age group, ethnic group, gender group, or income group equals profiling. Reducing the size of or removing Seaside Lagoon based on questionable testing locations equals a taking. Offering only paying customers a better view, a better experience, a better time equals exclusivity. Encumbering fishermen, paddleboarders, and surfers by building a labyrinth or maze of multi-storied parking structures, pathways, and public art just to maneuver through to finally get to the sea equals impeding public access. The claim that the developer is going to, one, increase the amount of shoreline accessible to the public from 84% to 100%, and stating that more than 4,450 feet of continuous pedestrian pathways will be provided along the shoreline equals almost a new mile of shoreline. I am sure Sacramento would be very interested to see just how this feat of stretching the state shoreline is going to happen. Trading off public lands just to balance a bloated city budget or to maintain repairs equals mismanagement. For most people, the decisions they make, whether good or bad, only last a lifetime. But this decision, your decision, will last 4 lifetimes. I have some material that will expand on my talking notes I'd like to present.
May I have a motion to receive and file?
So moved.
Thank you. Don Zerlup, Andrew Averick, Don Zerlup, and then Laureen Kotner.
Andrew Averick. I believe I'm District 3. I've been a city resident for 30-plus years. I just wanted to express I do support the waterfront. I grew up on the East Coast in a city that had a tremendous or a very nice waterfront, and the community gathered at the waterfront most weekends, and there was traffic. It was manageable, but the city got together. It was a wonderful place. And I hope to see something like that here. And I see that you're working to accommodate the changes. I know that the city is very polarized on either side, and I hope that this project does move forward.
Thank you. Don Zerlup, Laureen Kotner, and Brian Mitchell.
Good evening, Madam Chair, Commissioners. Don Zerlup, District 4. This is a long time coming. I believe that the EIR is an extensive document addressing all of the legalities that are necessary. What it doesn't really address is what we all want to see, which is positive movement forward. I believe that this is positive movement forward. We will never see anything if we don't approve the EIR. I had the opportunity 2 weeks ago to go to a theater called IPIC. I'd never been to an IPIC before. There were only 80 seats. They were huge. They were electric. I felt like I was in my living room. There were waiters. There was a menu. The theater was 60 people out of 80 were full at a 4 o'clock in the afternoon showing. There was a bar and restaurant outside of that theater, and they encouraged you to buy food there and bring it in, or use the menu that was there at the theater. From all I've understood, that's the type of theater that we're talking about in this complex. What a unique opportunity. As a matter of fact, the person I was there with said, I'll never go to a regular theater again. This is $10 more. I like the exclusivity. I'll always come to a theater like this. And honestly, I'd like to see those kinds of amenities brought here into our community, along with the other improvements in connectivity, in walkways, in facilities that will last and survive and outlast all of our lives. Please move this project forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Lauren Cotner, Brian Mitchell, and Moses Rambler.
Hi, yeah, it's Lauren Cotner. Hi, everybody. Thanks for meeting us tonight and letting us talk. My thing is I am from Torrance, but I am a fourth-generation Redondo. My mother went, my grandmother spent a lot of time down at the pier. I was very active in getting the pier rebuilt when Barbara Dorr was mayor, and it needs, we all agree that something needs to be done. We should all be really excited about what Center Cal is doing. I am totally for it. All the changes that they've done, I think, are great. I don't understand all the boat hoists and stuff because that's not what I would do. But I hear people saying it's limiting access to people and only certain people. I don't see that happening. You have a seaside lagoon that's going to be open year-round. This is a chance for you guys to make a difference in our community and make it so we're a destination and that people that live here want to stay here and spend money in our town and do things in our town. Right now, I don't stay. I go somewhere else because it's so mishmash and I can't park and I can't, it's not a place that I stay very long. So I am asking you to please pass this beautiful waterfront project. Thanks. And you should get really excited about it.
Thank you. Brian Mitchell, Moses Rambler, and Al Ching.
Hello, my name is Brian Mitchell with the Lanakila Outrigger Canoe Club. Tonight you're going to hear a lot of people that are very passionate about parking structures, MDUs, and retail centers, and open space. You'll also hear people that are experts on harbor operations, boat navigation in the harbor, boat launch usage, and boat launch parking requirements. I'm here tonight because I'm passionate and knowledgeable about the Outrigger Canoe Clubs on Mold B and how they will be affected by the proposed boat launch ramp facility. To be very succinct and to the point, if the boat ramp is placed on Mold B as currently proposed, the Outrigger Canoe Clubs can no longer function. The current plan proposes 9,000 square feet for the Outrigger Clubs. Our current site occupies 17,310 square feet. What is proposed meets 52% of our needs. We cannot function in that amount of space. Currently, we use about 54 to 78 parking spaces 4 nights a week, and on the weekend, 6 months of the year. The current plan proposes 45 parking spaces that would be shared with the park function. Again, we cannot function with that amount of parking. The current plan for the boat launch ramp facility on Mold B will not allow us to continue operation as we have for the last 46 years. That's a fact. We ask, with all due respect, we recommend that you reject the boat launch facility portion of the permit and staff recommendations as you deliberate this item tonight. Thank you.
Moses Rambler? No, Brian Mitchell. You were Brian, right? Right. Moses Rambler. Thank you.
Yes, good evening. Thank you for having us tonight, Harbor Commission. Staff, thank you very much for all your hard work. And this is a very difficult thing to go through, but ultimately, hopefully, very productive thing. I represent Lanakila Outrigger Canoe Club. My name is Moses Rambler. I'm the president and a board member for Lanakila Outrigger. We are located on Mole B. We've met with the city staff recently in discussions of how we could possibly be coexisting with a boat ramp and the park. Unfortunately, through the designs, and if possible, if we could bring that slide up of the current design from Mulvey, that would be appreciated. Coexisting with that would be very difficult because of the reduction of space. Through the last 20 years, Lanakila Outrigger has operated on a very, very small piece of land on Mulvey with Nahoa Outrigger Canoe Club. That small patch of land has been reduced over the years for different various things. Most recently, the Harbor Patrol building, where we lost some space. And the previous Harbor Director, P. Carmichael, was gracious enough to allow us additional space into the park. In the new design, you can see that there is a significant overlay. That overlay covers most of our storage. If we were to be reduced into 9,000 square feet, it would be almost impossible for us to operate. We are a club of 300 members. We have had thousands of Redondo Beach residents come through the Lanakila program. We are one of the most successful programs in California that delivers a very healthy and direct access to the water. By reducing our space, you are essentially slowly eliminating our ability to operate and deliver that to the residents of Redondo Beach. Our primary issues beyond just the space reduction would also include the ability to have space outside of the land and on the water. The new plan for a boat launch would create a significant amount of traffic with both the boats, the sailing programs, Tarzan subs, as well as both outrigger programs. Our boats are 42 feet long. When we launch 11 boats onto the water, it creates a massive amount of congestion. When the sailors are coming through during their races, it's more congestion. When we add in a boat ramp on that area, it could cause more congestion as well. Turning out of that parking lot would be very difficult with our trailers aboard. I appreciate the staff's new model, and I can see that they're trying to work with our parking issues. I appreciate that. Unfortunately, unless the park was eliminated or reduced in size,
Okay,
we would
sir,
be
your
unable
time
to
is up.
operate. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Al Ching, Dan Elder, and Diana Mann.
Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Al Chang, 839 and a half North Lucia Avenue, Redondo Beach. I'd like to thank you for your hard work. Been here enough times in the past, and now we're back again on Mole B. I'm not a negative person. I'm very positive, but I don't agree with Mole B having to be the receptor of a public boat ramp. First of all, it's going to impact on our organization, which we've been building for 46 continuous years. We have served our city, the children, the parents. We have like hundreds and hundreds of people that came through the Outriggers, grew up, became parents, became grandmothers, grandfathers, and their kids are passing through this organization. And this organization is not a minor thing. It's a major health organization. It's a major player for our kids. It's basically the biggest water supporter of children in Redondo Beach. I challenge you to name another organization better and bigger than ours for kids. There is none. Maybe you could say King Harbor, but we dwarf King Harbor. We put out 66 members on Sunday morning, almost every Sunday morning. Then we have the kids. It's huge. So we're not just a little outrigger club anymore. We are a major player in our city. And what are we for? We're not in here for profit. We're not in here for money. We're not here for looks. People here, when they leave my organization, they're healthy. Healthy, maybe not wealthy, but they're wise. So you can see that, you know, if you're going to cut off our 46 years of public service, you know, it's going to be a major cutoff. So anyway, I'm opposed to the boat ramp. I better hurry up. The boat ramp actually is going to, I think, is going to impede traffic going into Moleby. And I got to speak for the boaters in Moleby because I love them. I'm a boater too. They can't get in and out of their area if we have cars and trailers lining up. And I know they're going to line up because I launch boats and trailers every weekend. I go to all the races, you know, everybody. But it takes about 15 minutes to back the boat
Mr. Ching,
up.
I'm sorry, your time is up.
Time is up? Okay.
Time's up.
Thank you very much.
Dan Elder, Diana Mann, and Thomas Martin.
Hi, good evening, Commissioners. I'd like to thank you for your time tonight, as well as every other night you've spent with public hearings and the small reading material packets you have in front of you. My name is Dan Elder. I serve on the Recreation and Parks Commission. I think just about everyone in the room would agree that our waterfront needs help. It's run down, the infrastructure is crumbling, it needs massive repairs. I think it's really time we move forward with this. We're looking at $100 million in infrastructure repairs just to stay up to date and meet Coastal Commission requirements. We're looking at you know, all kinds of things we have to do and no way to pay for it. There's a referendum now being proposed that would, by Rescue Our Waterfront, that I don't see how we can pay for any of those options there. It puts a massive unfunded mandate on the city, and instead of really promoting any progress, it just slows everything down and stops it again because there's no way to accomplish this. And it's initiatives like that which really frustrate me because at the 11th hour, when we're already through, the final EIR is out, now some alternative comes out instead of years ago after Measure G was passed. You know, we saw this, it's frustrating. For example, in the Recreation and Parks Commission, when we had our hearing for opening Seaside Lagoon, we had probably a dozen speakers in favor of it, not a single one against. And obviously not everyone got the word out, but it's all these last-minute attempts to really derail the process, slow it down, wear everyone down that are really frustrating because that's what our waterfront is. It's been derailed for a long time now. It's run down. No one's been able to make any progress there because every special interest has something they want there. And I, of course, have my special interest. Everyone has a special interest. But it's time to come together, move forward, and agree that no one's going to get everything they want. It's time to find a good compromise. And I think the Center Cal plan is a great compromise. I think there's a lot to like. Obviously, it's not perfect for everyone. But I think it's a great option. And it's about 30 years overdue for our waterfront. So I would urge you to move forward. You know, I support the waterfront. Thank you.
Thank you. Dan Elder, Diana Mann, and Thomas Martin.
Good evening. I'm Diana Mann. My husband and I are residents of Seascape in the Village condominiums. I asked Commissioner Bloss earlier if I could present a brief PowerPoint presentation, but was turned down. I have it on a thumb drive if you want to. No? All right. Very brief, but since no is the answer, I'll just do this the old-fashioned way, and I'll just hold up pictures that I've put together. And this is about Zuliger Park. You want to talk about Zuliger Park in Measure G. Okay, Measure G was voted on by the residents of Redondo Beach, and it specifies certain limitations that, in my opinion, are being violated, and I believe you need to be aware of it. Zuliger Park is given special protection in more than one place in Measure G. One of those places is, and I have this written out for you, and I would like to submit these when I'm finished speaking. One of those places is Section 10-5.814B1 Development Standards, CC3 Coastal Commercial Zone, page 41. It says, views from Zuliger Park shall be protected by ensuring that two-story buildings are not clustered or lined up in a manner that creates a wall-like impact from the park. Okay, so what I did was I took the aerial view that was posted on the waterfront site and the market rendering that's on the waterfront site, and I superimposed it into some pictures from Zuliger Park. So here are just some random pictures of Zuliger Park from different angles, from the top of the park, from a little bit ways down the park, and each one of these pictures you will see the water. And there are various angles. This is from center down. This is where the benches are that face the water. This is from the midpoint looking north. This is from the midpoint looking south. This is from nearing the bottom of the path. This is the bottom of the path. This is from the plaza. In every one of these pictures, you see the ocean or at least a portion of the harbor. Now, don't giggle, but here's my insert. This is very raw, but I'm not a PowerPoint expert or even Photoshop. But I did do this as best I could based on the information. I want to point out one simple thing. There's a flagpole on the top of this elevator tower, which in my estimation is approximately 37 feet. I did a bunch of measurements using my good old-fashioned scout orientating skills, and that's roughly 37 feet, which is the permitted height of the new development in sub-area 2A, which is the place where the market hall is going to be. Now you see the market hall inserted at the top of Zuliger Park. Now you see it a little ways down, midway down from the benches. Don't forget, it stretches all the way from the end of that boat launch area all the way to over where Samba's ends. Midway down again, looking straight out. From the bottom of the path.
I'm sorry, your
Are
time
you?
is-
Well, I'm sorry, I have to do this.
No,
From
I'm
the
sorry,
very bottom
ma'am, your
of the
time
path,
is up.
and here it is, folks, the wall.
Excuse me, your time is up, please. The next person is Thomas Martin.
I am just going to say one final thing, which is I urge you to please think carefully before you just immediately approve something that is directly violating Measure G. It's
Thank you,
illegal.
ma'am. Thank you very much. Thomas Martin, Joy Corradetti, and Marna Smeltzer.
Good evening. My name is Thomas Martin. I'm from District 4, and I would just like to say that I support the Waterfront project and would like to ask like a rhetorical question for the proponents of the Waterfront project and the opposition, and that is, you know, if we don't do something to revitalize Redondo Beach's frontier, the Waterfront project and the pier now, what are we going to do? Put it off for another 10, 15 years, maybe 20 years? I mean, there's been enough opposition to revitalizing the city for, I understand, the last 10 or 15 years, and it probably goes back further than that. And I would just think that, you know, both sides would want to come together and see the commission do the right thing in approving a project that everybody could be happy with, not just one side or the other. The project is for the entire community, not just for one side. So I'm just proposing that, you know, the opposition and the proponents of the Waterfront project come together, you know, and work things out and quit splitting hairs over how to go about making this revitalization project happen. I just think it's time for something to be done, and the time is now. And I just think everyone should support revitalization in some spirit and not just oppose revitalization for the sake of opposing it. Thank you.
Thank you. Joy Corradetti, Marna Smeltzer, and then Walter Campbell.
Good evening. My name is Joy Corradetti, and as a resident of Redondo Beach for 28 years, I am passionate about this beautiful city that I call my home. It's my favorite place on earth. I love our glorious waterfront and our charming beach community, and in that spirit to be more embedded in Redondo Beach, I opened a gift shop, Mystical Joy, on the International Boardwalk over 5 years ago. Being on the waterfront daily, I am keenly aware of the ongoing deterioration and decay. The infrastructure cannot withstand a mere Band-Aid, nor can we postpone recovery again and again until everyone is totally content with the smallest minutia. Revitalization is long overdue to return Redondo to the jewel of the South Bay. I wholeheartedly welcome the Center Cal project. I believe this venture is not overbuilt and the correct formula for getting it right, as Fred Bruning stated. This project is inspired both aesthetically and commercially for our city. I find it puzzling that the same folks that protest and speculate about the rising costs of the small businesses don't even patronize us now. This is not just my experience or my opinion, but the dialogue I hear from the many other neighboring merchants and restaurants. The majority of locals don't venture down to the waterfront or the boardwalk because of the rundown, dilapidated ambiance. In contrast, the new public marketplace, the boutique hotel, the specialty theater, along with the other attractions, will upgrade the waterfront and keep it thriving not only in the summer, but also in the off-season and on rainy days for generations to come. In addition, the 11 acres of open space with water sculptures and landscape parks will beautify our area. The revival and the enhancement of the natural seaside lagoon will bring year-round enjoyment to the residents of Redondo Beach and its visitors. Over the past 25 years, I have repeatedly said that Redondo Beach is LA's best-kept secret. But it has been so for far too long. Thank you. The competition has grown, and we are falling behind the curve. The neighboring beach communities have proceeded with their own revitalizations and beautifications. If we deter Center Cal, it has been predicted that it will take another 10 years to be at this very junction where we stand today. We cannot delay further. A somewhat moderate earthquake can be disastrous beyond measure. Now is the time to upgrade our crumbling waterfront and open our community to other Angelenos as we share with pride the magnificent transformation of our beautiful city and our picturesque waterfront. It is time to move it forward and make our waterfront beautiful once again, and I thank you.
Thank you. Marna Smeltzer, Walter Campbell, and Alexandra Wayman.
Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Marna Smeltzer. I'm the President and CEO of the Redondo Beach Chamber and Visitors Bureau, but I'd also like to note that I've been and lived in this community for over 51 years. I'd like to share with you where the Chamber's at with this process. The Chamber is very supportive of the waterfront project. It is a priority of our organization and the business community, and we're very pleased that the EIR produced positive conclusions, including only 2 significant impacts that can't be fully mitigated. One is the tsunami risk that exists today, and the other is noise that's a result of people coming down to our wonderful waterfront once again. The EIR also concludes that after mitigation, no significant long-term impacts on traffic and congestion, and the reconfiguration of the Seaside Lagoon will only improve the environmental impact on our ocean. The benefits to the waterfront infrastructure are the most compelling. The project invests $100 million of very critical upgrades to the public infrastructure. This project is the only way to fund these critical upgrades without raising taxes. An independent market study done in February of 2015 showed favorable economic benefits regarding tax revenues, jobs, and financial viability for our city. Finally, we're very pleased, the Chamber is very pleased to see the recent changes to the plan. The parking structure that's being split into two to be accommodating for a view corridor, the restoration of the fishing pier that wasn't originally in the plan, and the size of the buildings around Seaside Lagoon have been reduced. For all these reasons, the Chamber of Commerce asks that you move forward and approve the documents that need to be approved to move this plan forward. And thank you very much for your time, and thank you all for what you do. I know it's not easy.
Thank you. Walter Campbell, Alexandra Wayman, and Michael Casillas.
Yes, hi, Walter Campbell, District 2. I probably stand to benefit, more than most since I am in District 2. This will be a tremendous thing. I'm not here to comment on the economics or the architectural design. It seems like a lot of thought and work has gone into all of that, and it also seems like a little late. While some of the ideas I'm sympathetic to when you talk about building heights or a swimming pool or the outrigger situation, et cetera, but it does seem a little late to keep tweaking this plan. Anyway, my personal interest in this is I actually walk this plan or walk the perimeter of it pretty much every day and sometimes at night. And it's hard to get away from the idea that no matter where you look, if you're standing on the far pier looking back at the sort of ramshackle, connection of offices, or if you're on either edge looking at how the ocean is blocked off, or if you look at the crumbling parking structure, it just or the lagoon fenced in, it just seems like a monumental waste of space, the way the thing is laid out and designed and fenced in and crumbling, et cetera. So I certainly hope this project goes through. It seems like a great project. Again, as people have noted, if this one is missed, then it'll be 30 years before anything else can possibly be done. So thank you again, and good luck.
Alexandra Wayman, Michael Casillas, and Wilfredo Verdugo. Sorry.
Good evening, Chair Bloss and Harbor Commissioners. My name is Alexandra Wayman. I am a representative of Unite Here Local 11, a hotel and restaurant employees union representing over 20,000 workers in LA and Orange County. We also represent workers that live and play in Redondo Beach. We are here to oppose the project and support the efforts of Rescue Our Waterfront. We have various concerns about the proposed project and the vote that is taking place tonight. The final EIR was released for public review just 11 days before this hearing on July 7th. The FEIR responds to over 700 comments that were received during the draft EIR period. 11 days is insufficient for the public to adequately review both the comments that were received and the responses from the city. Additionally, we feel that it is insufficient time for you as commissioners to both analyze and understand the entire document and make a well-informed decision about whether or not to certify the environmental document. CEQA's policy goals are to support full disclosure, to support consideration and comment by the affected people, and to ultimately ensure informed decision-making. And we do not feel that the city of Redondo Beach has maintained the letter and spirit of California law. Additionally, we are concerned about the changes made to Seaside Lagoon and the affordability of the waterfront. While we applaud the city for proposing to make Seaside Lagoon a free recreation activity, it is concerning that the current project proposal's repurposing of that space diminishes the size of Seaside Lagoon, making it significantly smaller and limiting the recreational use of the park. Recreational activities like Seaside Lagoon are protected in Section 3 of the Coastal Act. Additionally, Section 30213 of the Coastal Act protects and encourages low-cost visitor in recreational activities, and we want to ensure that individuals at any income level have the ability to enjoy the Redondo Beach waterfront. In recent years, the coastal zone in California has become privatized, which has made it largely unaffordable for people of all incomes. A comment letter by Jim Light from Building a Better Redondo highlights the fact that the waterfront is being redeveloped by CenterCal to appeal to a more affluent demographic who can afford elevated yet relaxed restaurants, one-of-a-kind shops, and the best-in-class health, beauty, and lifestyle amenities. What makes the Redondo Beach waterfront so unique is that it is an affordable destination for people that want to enjoy all that the coastal zone has to offer. For these reasons, we feel that the project proposed violates the California Coastal Act, and we ask that you please deny this project. Thank you.
Thank you. Michael Casillas and Wilfredo Verdugo.
Good evening. My name is Michael Casillas. I'm a current student at LA Southwest, which is right here on Imperial. I'm currently studying mycology. I've been going to Seaside Lagoon ever since I was in grade school. It's always been a nice, beautiful place for me and my family to go. I like the fact that it's like going to the beach, but there was water filtering. Like it was something like a pool, but with the beach, with the salty water. I like the safety of it being closed and there being lifeguards, so I always felt safe. And this is the waterfront to me was like an iconic part, and it would make me and my fellow millennials real sad to lose it. And then furthermore, I think it's not fair that you guys are just trying to make it more exclusive. And so where are we gonna go? Where is the working class gonna go? Where is the poor people gonna go? I don't think we could afford to stay in these boutique hotels. Maybe if they were unionized hotels, maybe we'll support it. But as the way it's going, I don't think me or any of my millennials, any of my classmates, my graduating students, anybody that I know will come to the Seaside Lagoon anytime soon if you guys continue with these changes. Thank you.
Wilfredo Verduzco, David Warner, and Nancy Campbell.
Buenas noches, señoras y señores.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen.
Mi nombre es Wilfrido Verduzco. Trabajo en el Hotel Westin del Aeropuerto por 15 años.
My name is Wilfredo Verduzco. I've worked at the Westin LAX Hotel for 15 years.
Tengo 8 años como miembro del Local 11. A través de esta unión he recibido buena aseguranza, buenos salarios y respeto y dignidad de mi trabajo.
I've been a member of the union for 8 years, and with the union I receive fair wages, good benefits, and respect in my workplace.
Y este proyecto, señores, si no garantiza para los trabajadores de esta comunidad el respeto y dignidad, no es un buen proyecto. Gracias.
And if this project, ladies and gentlemen, is not going to guarantee that respect and dignity for this community, we don't support it. Thank you.
Thank you. David Warner, Nancy Campbell, and Ellen Gadert.
Hello, my name is David Warner. I'm in District 1. I fully support the Waterfront project, and I'll make this short. I think it's something that we long need, and it'll help the city in bringing in income, and I just recommend your support and approval. Thank you.
Thank you. Nancy Campbell, Ellen Gadert, and Ray Gadert. Hi.
My name is Nancy Campbell. I live in District 4, and I've lived in Redondo Beach since 1986. Before I make my comments, join me in a little exercise I did driving up here. It was not thought out in advance, but I kind of assessed what I had on, what I spent my money on, where I got my services as I was driving up here. And I was shocked to find out that not my shoes, my hair, my glasses, my jewelry, my dress, my underwear, not one item I have on, except for my purple toenail polish, came from Redondo Beach, California. Now, I'm from a small town in Northern California, about 25,000 people, and I do believe in shopping local. I was raised in it, and I'm shocked to know that I don't, because I can't. Okay? I urge you to pass the Waterfront project to revitalize this city in more ways than just in the waterfront. We have such a fabulous asset, and it's old-fashioned, it's aging, it's disorganized, and especially compared to our neighborhood coastal cities. I would love to bring my family up here to get together for the day out. We're going to Huntington Beach, Newport Beach, Manhattan Beach, Long Beach. We've got 12 people that get together at least once a month. And we don't come here. There's nothing for us here. And I say that with all due respect. We enjoy what we enjoy. There's just not enough. There's just not enough for all. And I so appreciate the hard work you all have been doing to make this come to this point, a turning point. And if I'm not mistaken, today is the day that that turning point, that you guys can get over that turning point. I have a quick note to say I'm a business development consultant. My largest client is the state of California. I now have a number of clients in Northeast Dallas, Texas. They are the spouses of employees from the South Bay. You know them. They're from Torrance. They're from Raytheon. They're from all around here. They are the spouses who have small businesses that they operated here, and now they are moving to North Dallas, Texas. There's opportunity there. And if I say, and the one thing I'd like to say is, if not now, when? Thank you.
Ellen Goddard, Ray Goddard, and Paul Moses.
Hello. I've lived in Redondo for 25 years, and thank you for listening. And I do support the waterfront. I would like to see you read. I've sympathized so much with everyone who has concerns about their issue, but I do. I feel like it's if not now, then when. I know a lot of young people that I know who say, in Hermosa, I can park my car on Friday night, and I never get back in my car again until Monday morning when I go to work. But in Redondo, you can't do that. There's not enough to keep young people here, to keep people here to go out and do things. And I just would love to see Redondo one of those places that people want to come and they want to just park their car and stay and visit our shops and do all of the fun things that they can do here. Thank you.
Thank you. Ray Goddard, Paul Moses, and Fred Eisner. I can't read it. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Hi, I'm Ray Geddert, and we live in District 5. Our kids went to school here. We got married here. We own a home here. And recently, my wife and I had a fabulous experience. We went to the waterfront. We had a nice meal. We had a beverage. We were on a patio. We were sitting at a nice table. We were there with our dogs. Unfortunately, it was not here in Redondo Beach. So we look forward to you bringing that experience to our waterfront and making a nice walk, dining, eating experience that some folks get to enjoy in the village here to our waterfront. Thank you.
Thank you. Paul Moses, and this other one is Fred, who's on Opal Street.
Fred on Opal. Good evening. I'm Paul Moses from District 2. I'm here because I support the Waterfront project, and I'm not paid to support the Waterfront project, but maybe I should be. You know, they say do what you love, and I love this project. I've lived here all my life, and I've never seen the harbor improve. I've watched it burn, I've watched it fall into the sea, and I've watched it slowly fall apart. In 5th grade at St. Lawrence, where I was attending, I went on a field trip to go whale watching. After the boat returned to King Harbor, we got to explore the pier. It was seedy back then, and it still is. You could argue that Kincaid's and the Cheesecake Factory are improvements, but they just prove the role that a high-end experience succeeds in the harbor. People want a nice evening out. The Waterfront project will give us all more of those choices. I don't have a boat. Most of the people that enjoy the harbor don't have a boat either. We walk. The Waterfront project gives us a place to walk in which is better than what we have now. What we have now in the harbor is a lagoon that's created by the outflow from the decrepit power plant, and it's closed most of the year. What we have now in the harbor are concrete barriers, closed businesses, and parking lots that are empty most of the year. It's time to change all that. I want an entirely new experience down there. I want a harbor that everyone can enjoy, and that's why I support the Waterfront project. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Fred? And Larry Halverson and Philip Friedman.
Hello. I agree with the statement if it's
Sir,
not...
could you state your name?
I'm Fred Fasten, District 2. Does that work? I agree with the statement if it's not broke, don't fix it. Conversely, I also agree that if it's broke, do fix it. The pier parking structure, we can all agree, needs upgrading. And there is a portion of the pier that did not burn down that also needs to be brought back to current standards. But I don't agree with the assumption that we need to build a theater, a bridge, a wall, a mall, etc. First, a theater. We have lovely live theaters like the Norris Theater, the Redondo Beach Performing Arts Theater, Redondo Beach Community Center, and Lawndale just built a state-of-the-art theater. Theaters aren't broke, don't fix them. Theaters in the foreseeable future's movie theaters will give way to first-run movies and homes on wall-sized screens. As soon as one independent movie studio goes straight to home debuts, theaters will lose their luster. Your kids will ask you if you remember sitting in a large room with strangers watching a movie. We have theaters galore, don't need more theaters. Theaters aren't broken, don't fix them. A bridge, please spare me. I've lived in South Bay for over 40 years. No one's ever asked for a bridge. Talk about continuing maintenance. All bridges will rust if not properly maintained. Ask Long Beach how they like their bridges. Gerald Desmond Bridge was bid out at $900 million. The cost overrun now is $1.5 billion. Okay, it's over a 50% increase. By the way, bridges never fix something that was broken. Blocking the view west from Catalina through Veterans Park is one of the most scenic spots around. Building a wall to distract viewing would be horrible. By the way, what's the wall fixing? If it's not broke, remember, don't fix it. Parking structure, absolutely. State-of-the-art, charge extra for beautiful parking structure. I bet extra revenue would help alleviate the cost. Seaside Lagoon, let's make it better if possible. It seems to be filled in the summer, let it be. I would focus on the AES plant and put retail and residential ideas to good use there. Let the pier be the pier. I would also hate to have the city council go down in history as the group who sold out Redondo Beach Pier to commercial speculators who would ruin our precious natural resources. And by the way, if the worst that happens, the construction is finished and it doesn't work, we'll send Cal at their expense, restore the pier to what it was before they ruined it. Thank you.
Thank you. Larry Halverson, Philip Friedman, and Jana West. Larry Halverson? Larry just said support. I guess he left. Okay, Philip? Jana West, and then Pat Ost.
Good evening. I'm Philip Friedman from Philip Friedman Outdoors. I've been covering sport fishing in Southern California and Baja and around the world for 31 years, which means I'm getting really old. I grew up in Redondo Beach in terms of my sport fishing. I started on a boat called the Redondo Special, started on the Redondo Pier, and I wanted to talk to you about some of the people I have talked to with regard to the boat launch and the unbridled enthusiasm that I am hearing about that boat launch. The boat launch will not only give access to people who are somewhat affluent, but I believe it's going to give access to people who can't afford to have a slip in Redondo. Rafael Llamas from Paramount, California is that kind of a guy. I talked to him, and he is excited about the boat launch ramp. He has a kayak. He works really, really hard. He has 4 beautiful daughters, but he can't afford to have that kind of a slip, and this will give him an opportunity for sure to be able to enjoy the environment. Redondo used to be the crown jewel of sport fishing, and over the years it's deteriorated. It's the perfect venue for fishermen. It gives you access to Catalina Island, especially the west end, Santa Barbara Island, San Clemente Island, and the local fishing at times can be really, really great. Marina del Rey seems to be a little too far for many of the people that want to enjoy that, and the Cabrillo launch ramp is also a little far. And in terms of being adequate or not, I think you guys have done your homework. You looked down there at Marina del Rey, I believe it was 20 launches per day. You looked at Cabrillo, I think you said 19. I can't imagine Redondo in my wildest dreams being over that. It's not close to the freeways. That makes it a problem. And there's a problem with bait in Redondo, and that's a big thing with fishermen. The lack of bait will send them off to other areas, and there's been an inconsistent supply of bait in Redondo for many, many years. And I think that will keep those numbers down. At the same time, people definitely want to do that. And congestion, I heard that as a possible problem. These crazy fishermen are launching at 4 in the morning, 5 in the morning. I get the feeling you could shoot a cannon through there about that time, and congestion might not be a problem. And the return is staggered. They're going to come home at different times, so I think that would help with the congestion. The folks I've heard on Facebook, Twitter, we do a Spanish radio show, we do an English radio show. All of those seem to really be enthusiastic about the boat launch ramp, and I hope you will proceed with that. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Jana West. Pat Ott, is Jana West here? Okay, and no comment, don't know what that position is. Pat Ost, Jackie Balestros, and then Sharon Emel. And there's a couple of seats down front. If people want to come up that are next to sit down in the front to keep it moving, that'd be great. I'm sorry, Pat.
Good evening, Commissioners. I'm Pat Ost. I'm a lifetime resident, 68 years of the community. I'm a 46-year employee of the City of Redondo Beach, having finished up last year. I went to work for the City of Redondo in 1969. My first job was as a traffic signal street lighting electrician. My first year and a half I spent working on taking out Pacific Avenue, putting in the street lights, and changing over the configuration of what's going on for the 1970 iteration of what happened at the pier. It never really took off the way that they thought it would, but it was a good try. Today I'm the president of the Historical Society, and I can tell you that next April our city will be 125 years old. In that 125 years we've depended on that waterfront to help support our community. And today we need to do this revitalization because the people of Redondo deserve to be a first-class city. We've kind of fallen behind our neighbors because of money. We need the money, and it isn't just that we're selling out. We need the dollars and the revenue that it brings. People say my taxes pay for all of this. Well, we get 16 cents on the tax dollar. 84 cents goes away to other entities. And of that, we get $22 million a year in property tax. That pays for 1/2 of the police department. So all the other city services and all the things that are happening here have to be decided upon and the money found by the city council. The harbor could do a lot more, and we need to have it pay for itself. It's the gem that we have and that we've had for over 120 years to help us be a first-class city. So, yes, we do need to move forward. As far as my other jobs, yeah, I was the fire chief for the city. I was the harbor master for the city. I participated in 7 studies on a boat ramp, and, you know, there is no perfect place. If anyone here thinks we're going to find the perfect place down there, they're in the wrong meeting. It's not there. We need to appease the state, we need to have a boat launch ramp. Is there going to be a perfect ramp? No. Is there a perfect ramp anywhere within 50 miles of here? No. But we can decide upon one and put one in. You know, we've talked about 1 lane, 2 lane, 3 lanes, all those other things. The parking spaces, the average number of boats, as Mr. Proud said, we don't get more than 20 launches a day. We're lucky if we get 12, but the average comes out to 20. And so with 32 parking spaces, we can accommodate the majority. No, Labor Day and Memorial Day, we probably aren't going to be able to do it.
Sir, your time is up. I'm sorry, your time is up. Thank you.
Thank you.
Jackie Balestros, is that right? Then Sharon Emmel and Joanne Turk. And again, there's some seats down front. If I could get you to come down front to save time, I'd appreciate it.
Good evening, Chair Bloss and Commissioners. My name is Jackie Balestra. I'm a resident of Torrance, and I'm a supporter of the Waterfront project. Now, I've been to the Redondo Beach City Council meetings, Planning Commission meetings, Harbor Commission hearings, and the community outreach meetings, and I've made statements showing my support for this project. While you're debating the merits, please take into account that this is not just a Redondo Beach issue. The project will affect the entire South Bay. It's not just Redondo Beach residents that use the harbor to sail, fish, paddleboard, whale watch, enjoy concerts, festivals, shopping, dining, and more. There are a million other people in the greater South Bay area that use it too. Now, at these meetings that I've been going to, we keep hearing from the same 20%. It's the old 80-20 rule. But please take into consideration again the enormous number of people that will happily utilize a renewed Redondo Beach waterfront. There was an article online today on the BizNow website about the waterfront. The article mentioned some of the numbers. They talked about the investment, the square footage, the number of hotel rooms, and amenities, the theater, the hotel, green space, boardwalk, so on and so on. But it was the second to last line of the article that got my attention. Quote, there are also plans to revitalize San Pedro's waterfront. Communities up and down the coast understand how important and necessary revitalization is, except for a very small, very vocal, lawsuit-threatening, if we don't like it, let's get another measure on the ballot, anti-development group of individuals. We need to look at the bigger picture and how Redondo and the surrounding communities will be best served. Thank you for listening.
Sharon Immel, Joanne Turk, and Michael Shearer.
I'm Sharon Imel, and I live at 729 Border in Torrance, California. I'm just here tonight. I'm listening to all these people, and my heart goes out to everybody. I've lived in the area all my life, and I can see that there's going to become, if it's not done right, and I on the outside view here, I see there is some design flaws listening to these people, and I certainly hope that you address them. We've seen theaters go in and become ghost towns. They become salons. We've seen buildings go in and they change. They don't stay what they're supposed to be. So I hope that enough study's been done. I'm here to support the Lanaquila area. I mean, these people have been so much of a positive impact in the community, and you can't just squeeze them out. The boat report that I heard, the boat launch, 19 per day, that kind of really surprised me. I know that there's something missing from that report. And the impact of boats going up and down Harbor Boulevard there, going in and out of that place. I mean, you just spent millions of dollars on Harbor Boulevard and all those stoplights and pedestrian traffic. They go, you stop, you can't turn right, you can't turn left, you gotta wait. I mean, I just can't see those boats going in and out of there with those trailers. I mean, I have a boat myself, and I know what it's like to wait in a boat line. And you get a high impact day. I mean, you're just gonna make your city a traffic jam, a traffic pack. So I just hope that you'll reconsider the location for that boat ramp to someplace else. I mean, on the outside opinion, I see, and maybe people won't want to hear this, but down by the Seaside Lagoon, I mean, that's a wonderful place. There's already kind of a boat ramp there. There seems to be more room there. I don't know the exact layout of your plan, but it seems like there's more circular motion on Harbor Boulevard going down and around and out to Catalina than there would be going into a T and then coming back out and around. I mean, that's like duplicating the traffic. So I would hope that you would try to consider another location. Thank you.
Joanne Turk, Michael Shearer, and Carl Ellett.
I'm Joanne Turk from Polly's on the Pier, but tonight I just want to give you my observations about the boat launch ramp. First of all, I thank all of you, and especially the staff. I think you've been making real progress, and I'm heartened by that. People have been searching for the perfect solution for the location of a boat launch ramp for 50 years, and there is no perfect site, as our consultant, our experts told us. But I'm glad that the city and King Harbor Marina seem to be working together to provide a ramp and a hoist and a hand launch on Mole B. Now, I happen to personally think Mole B is a better solution than Mole C, because you don't have to buy out an existing leasehold like Joe's Crab Shack. And that's going to be expensive if you have to do that. Also, it's not going to negatively impact the Portofino wedding business. And that's a big wedding business, I understand, almost between 150 and 200 weddings a year. And a lot of the parties and receptions take place right on the balcony next to where the ramp would be if it was put on Mole C. So we know that we have to accommodate the Coastal Commission, but I say we're a small boat harbor. People refer to it as a boutique even. We need to accommodate the Coastal Commission's requirements. We don't need to compete with Dana Point and Marina Del Rey. We just need to be what we are, a small boat harbor, and try to fit everybody in. I believe there's a place for Lanikia. I'm sure that the city and King of Harbor Marina will work that out. So I just say move forward. We need this. The buildings are deteriorating around us, the buildings and the structures. Thank you very much.
Michael Shearer? Is Michael here? There's no comment. I don't know whether for or against. Carl Elliott, Dwayne Rohrbaugh. Is Carl Elliott here? Okay. And then Dwayne Rohrbaugh and Sheila Lamb. And again, if you can come down front, I'd appreciate it.
Good evening, Harbor Commission. Thanks for holding this hearing. I really respect the...
Would you state your name, please?
My name is Carl Elliott. I live on 2nd Street in Hermosa Beach. I've been a resident there for about 26 years. I first want to say thank you for the mission for the Harbor Commission, trying to protect responsible use of the water and access to the water. I feel like you share a common mission with Laniquila. I'm also a member of Laniquila. I have been for 7 years, and also a men's coach there for 5 of those, the last 5. I'm going to expound on what some of my prior members have said about the club. We have an active membership of right around 300 members, an extended family well over 1,000. So when you get the paddler, you get the family too. And so we touch a lot of people's lives. I feel like I've probably touched somewhere about 5,000 people's lives in the course of my 7 years with Laniquila. So it's a tremendous extension into the community. We're a partner with Beach Cities Health District and a mission on the Blue Zones, promoting healthy lifestyles, and principally for what we do for both children and for some of the elder paddlers that we have. More than 60% of our paddlers are over the age of 40. Probably about a third of the paddlers are either kids, parents, married couples. It's really a tremendous family. So the reason I say that is that what we accomplish is because of size. There's both the trading aspect of what we do by encouraging teamwork and extending out into the community, the philanthropic efforts where we support Ocean of Hope Cancer, Big Brothers Big Sisters, Special Ops Warrior Foundation. And so we don't serve ourselves, we serve the community as you do. So one of the things I'm concerned with is as the concessions are shrinking the space for Laniquila, our critical mass, our ability to effectively support the community is going to be compromised. I'm recommending that you parse out the decision on Mole B. I've heard I really haven't heard much of a decision, any compelling argument why we need a boat ramp. But suffice it to say, there's a lot of argument there. And I think we're holding hostage the waterfront decision. My recommendation is for you to parse that off and decide on that another day. But if you are forced to decide on that, I'm asking you that you hold the mission for Laniquila as your own, to be able to protect that and make sure that our interests are held whole. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Dwayne Rohrbaugh. Sheila Lamb and Dennis Grote.
Yes, hi, good evening. My name is Dwayne Rohrbaugh. I'm the new general manager of the Portofino Hotel and Marina. I've attended the last two public hearings just so I can get a better understanding of the pros and cons of the Waterfront development project. The Portofino is pro-development, and we believe the Waterfront project is going to make a great city even better. We support CenterCal and the city staff's recommendations. We have our own development plans for the Portofino and want to continue to invest in the Portofino, but from a traffic perspective, a boat launch at Mole C would be detrimental to the booking business and bringing guests who love to come to Redondo Beach. Being a major hotel in Redondo Beach, we know what guests want, and that is to play and stay in Redondo Beach. Thank you.
Sheila Lamb, Dennis Grote, and Tony Hart.
Good evening, Chairwoman Bloss and the commission members. My name is Sheila Lamb. I live in District 4. For some people, the new Redondo Waterfront Village is a dream come true. They see the CenterCal drawings and imagine a downtown community where they can park, shop, eat, meet with friends and family, listen to music, and watch the sunset, just as people do who live and visit Hermosa and Manhattan. Unfortunately, this retail facade, masquerading as an upscale village, lacks legitimacy. It wants to look like a picturesque main street from the early days of Redondo Beach, but it's all being constructed like a movie set, like Disneyland or the Venetian in Las Vegas. This manufactured authenticity is just a fresher mousetrap designed to catch high-end consumers and is merely the hipper cousin to the old shopping mall. Rather than making real connections with the surrounding communities and the people who work and play in the waterfront, this new mall barricades itself away from the waterfront, from the surrounding community with 3- and 4-story buildings, destroys views, disrupts the seaside lagoon, disregards the interests of the King Harbor boaters, the Outrigger Club, bikers, walkers, runners, kayakers, and all the thousands of others who currently enjoy the waterfront. For those who have imagined that at long last they will get that exclusive downtown community, it won't take long for them to realize that this new mall formula is boring, inauthentic, and they'll be dining with friends and family right back to Hermosa and Manhattan in real towns with real public spaces where community and connection really happen. The citizens of Redondo Beach deserve better than an upscale shopping mall at the waterfront that barricades itself from the community. Use your power to scale back this Venetian by the sea and refocus redevelopment around recreation-oriented uses within the harbor, where all people, not just the privileged few, will be able to access the waterfront. That is where community and connection will thrive and grow. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Dennis Grote, Tony Hart, and Judith Opdahl.
Dennis Grote, resident of Redondo Beach, voter and a boater. Tonight I want to limit my comments to the issue of the boat ramp. I was very pleasantly surprised to see the revised plan that was put out tonight. The larger spaces is a big improvement, and especially the increased number of spaces. If in fact it's gone from the 21 usable spaces to 32 spaces, that's a wonderful, wonderful enhancement. It's going to make that ramp much more viable. Even with those increased spaces, I want to address the issue of parking, and I have one request. Everyone keeps talking about the average demand, the average demand, the average demand. And having been a trailer boater for many decades, I know when you go through all the trouble of getting packed, getting ready, getting fuel, food, equipment, everything else in that boat, you come down, if there's no parking space, it doesn't matter what the average use is. I mean, someone could probably tell you, well, on average, you'd have a place to park, but it's full. There are a lot of high demand days for boaters. And if you use the Cabrillo study, okay, even with the 32 spaces, comparing to Cabrillo, there'd still be 59 days a year when there'd be more demand than the 32 available spaces. That's actual data from the Cabrillo report. Again, I'm very enthusiastic about this new proposal, but I think it's essential that we provide viable and accessible overflow parking, whether part of the Center Cal project if it goes forward or offsite at somewhere like AES. We've got to have enough available parking to keep that ramp viable, keep it functioning. Two other quick items. I feel that this launch ramp should be available 24/7. Now, I know with the hoist, that's a different issue. I think there has to be a system in place for the hoist, whether it's reservation or call or whatever, but the ramp should be open 24/7. And my last request is, if the ramp goes forward, please ensure that at least one of the current hoists remains operational until the new ramp is completed and fully operational. I'd hate to see a big gap when there's no access. Again, I very much look forward to seeing the final plan. I think it's come a long ways. Very excited about the new design. I think it's, under the circumstances, a great compromise, if you would, to try and fit in what we can in our relatively small harbor. Thank you.
Thank you. Tony Hart, Judith Opthal, and Paula Moore.
Good evening. Thank you guys all for the opportunity to speak. I'm here representing Lanakila Outrigger Canoe Club. That's what the outrigger canoes look like if you guys haven't seen them. They're about 43, 45 feet long, and they sit on a 30-foot trailer when we travel to race. In order to leave the facility now, when we pack up down near the fire department, we head out and we actually have to make a left turn, go down around where the proposed ramp would be, circle around to be able to exit. So hopefully whatever plan is put in place for to pass, it would keep in mind some of those, the abilities of those longer trailers and the overhang. There's about 11 feet of overhang behind the trailer that has to swing. So we need to be able to clear. So our thoughts are that Mole B would be a negative place to have the boat ramp. We do think that it's probably a good idea to have a boat ramp in Redondo because we're all boaters and we love boating. Second, I'm the coach of our kids program. We have had up to approximately 100 kids in our program practicing in any given day. We've been coached by the Harbor Patrol to be safe on the water, to stay out of the main channel. When our kids started about 7 years old, all the way up till the 19s, then they turn into our adult program. The amount of boat traffic, jet skis, fishermen, ski boats coming across the front of Mole B to get to and from in the afternoons would be probably a safety issue, I think, not only for us but also the sailing programs. Our program facilitates a family environment that people are really envious of. I have a family of 4 that paddle. Myself, my wife, my 2 kids. We have families here tonight that are families of 5 that all are participating. So it's the family environment that we have is unbelievable. And last but not least, I think that the idea of separating the Mole B project from the actual waterfront project, I think is a great idea because I think there's a lot of us that are in support of. We would probably frequent any of the local bars and restaurants after practice quite often. So I think that we would enjoy some of that. So I think the idea of separating is great. Thank you guys for your time.
Thank you. Judith Opdahl, Paula Moore, and David Deemer.
Good evening. I'm Judith Opdahl, and thank you, commissioners, for all the hard work you do. And I'm sure sometimes it doesn't feel rewarded, but it is, and especially for our community. I personally live in the Hollywood Riviera, and I love Redondo Beach, but I'm really speaking on behalf of the fact that I have spent most of my waking hours working at the Redondo Pier. I'm executive director of Cancer Support Community, and I've been the director for 22 years. We have been there for almost 30 years. It's in the Pier Plaza offices. Nobody's really talked about those tonight, but oh, do they need help. They have not been real successful, and We have worked with 5 different entities. I have personally with 5 different entities to lease our space there because it hasn't been desirable. It didn't really do well from the beginning. And those wooden structures bring in many creatures, lots of termites, raccoons in the roof. We have had rats. We've had it all. And we always hear it's going to get better, that things are going to be different. And it hasn't been. But the parking structure, everything that you already know, I'm not going to speak of, we just need it better. And I know from the very beginning, we got excited about the renovation of the waterfront. And as soon as we heard about Fred Bruning, we called his office and we said, we have been there for 30 years. The cancer patients love the place. And I mean, it is healing to be at the Redondo Pier when they come to our office. Fred came to our office. He met with our staff. He has met with some of our board members. I really think CenterCal is a first-class operation. And I think what they do, and for hanging in there and believing that this is going to be a project that everybody will eventually love, I do too. I believe that. And my 2 favorite words are happy medium. It's not going to work for everybody, but oh please, this is a diamond in the rough down here, and I am very much looking forward to seeing it renovated. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Paula Moore, David Deemer, and Beth Minot.
Good evening. My name is Paula Moore. I'm the Director of Development at Cancer Support Community, and I work with Judith. I am strongly encouraging you to approve this project, and I know that there will be a lot of give and take that has to occur, and I don't envy you that job, but I thank you for doing it. And I thank CenterCal for a wonderful project, and we look forward to having a home for our cancer patients to come to that is without the critters that Judith mentioned, and we are very excited about this project. Thank you.
David Deemer, Beth Minot, and Arnett Travis.
Hello, my name is David Deemer. I'm a 16-year resident of Redondo Beach, and I want to thank you for getting my last name correct. And I'm a supporter of the Waterfront Initiative, and I'd like to take a couple moments to echo my fellow supporters in one, the economic benefits of this project speak for themselves. 2, there is no perfect solution, nor will there ever be one. 3rd, if not now, when? Are we looking at another 10 years if this doesn't go through? And then also the ability to make a compromise with the commission, with the developer, CenterCal, being agile and addressing these one-off comments, needs, requirements, and being able to get us to this point right now. So I applaud everybody in that particular initiative. And then lastly, just the overall enthusiasm that people are having around this project. So as a result of that, and for the benefit of the community as a whole, I encourage the Harbor Commission to adapt the staff recommended alternative. Thank you very much.
Beth Minot, Arnett Travis, and Ian Barden. Is Beth here? Says I support Arnett Travis, Ian Barden, and John Mann.
Good evening, Commissioners, and thank you. My name is Arnett Travis. I'm a 25-year resident of Redondo Beach. I support the project in its entirety for a lot of different reasons, mainly because it's beautiful, it's exciting, and I think that it's just what Redondo needs to restore it to a world-class destination place. There have been many representations as to what the project is and what it isn't. I know in your infinite wisdom, because you've looked at what the staff recommendations are, the excellent report that's been done on the environmental impact report, as well as all the other resources expert resources that you have at your disposal, and that you've examined those, and you can sift out the wheat from the chaff, because there is quite a bit of chaff or chaff, I'm not sure how that word is pronounced, that is, it's swirling around. In my experience, as in real life, there's a lot more regret over what wasn't done, over indecision, than the wrong decision. Someone reminded me of the fact that the village area, and this was someone who lives in that area, adjacent to Zuliger Park and around where their views would be impeded, by the project, which, is questionable. The fact of the matter is that they took away views from people that lived on Broadway and beyond, and even on Catalina Avenue, so that it's a situation where no one gets everything they want. That's an impossibility. For every situation, there's a winner and there's a loser. I think, though, in this situation, the real winner is going to be the entirety of Redondo Beach. So for that reason, I urge you to approve the staff recommended alternative and to get the project done. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Ian Barden, John Mann, and John Gran.
Good evening, Madam Chairperson and members of the Commission. My name is Ian Bardeen, but I've been called Ian. I've been called Barden before, so it's not anything that bothers me. I am interested in the boat ramp, and my interest stems from the fact that I am a tenant. I have an office in King Harbor Marina. I have a liveaboard boat in the harbor. I'm a member of the King Harbor Yacht Club, and I am a commissioner on the Recreation and Parks Commission. With that being said, that's to show my interest in the project. I am speaking here on behalf of myself as an individual and as for other boaters similarly situated. With that being said, I am speaking primarily to get a clarification from the staff as to their unexplained reasons for moving the proposed boat ramp and to make sure that they don't make a bad mistake. I don't think that Mole B is a good or proper place for the ramp. About 2 years ago, at a city council meeting in 2014, I believe the minutes said that studies have been conducted in the harbor to identify potential locations for ramp, focusing primarily on the south turning basin, which is Mole C. The city council provided direction to proceed with an EIR based on the conceptual design proposed by Center Cal Properties. Their concept includes the construction of a new boat ramp at the north end of the south turning basin, as well as the opening of the lagoon. Both the concepts of the boat ramp and the modifications for the lagoon were well received at various workshops. So they were actually pointing towards Mole C. Now all of a sudden it has moved at one time to try to put it on Mole A, now it's on Mole B. I'm trying to figure out this fluidness, and it's kind of like a whack-a-mole, figuring out, where's it going to pop up and why. Staff represented this consistently in various reports right up to the time they came with their idea to move the ramp to the north, first to Mole A and now to Mole B. Without explanation, they edited the acknowledgement of Mole C out of their proposal. Secondly, the placement of the ramp flies in the face of the dictates of CEQA. According to CEQA, the building of the ramp cannot be a location that is not environmentally superior to the proposed project. The proposed project is Mole C. According to staff reports, the placement of a ramp on Mole B would be environmentally inferior in that it would interfere with ingress and egress to the Harbor Patrol facility on Mole B. By definition, it is not environmentally superior to the proposed project, which proposes the south turning basin. Now, disruption on Mole B.
Oh, I'm sorry, your time is up, sir.
Okay, thank you very much.
John Mann?
Hello, John Mann, resident and homeowner in Redondo Beach. I'm confining my remarks to the Market Hall, which I believe, as shown in the renditions from CenterCal, would violate a specific development standard in Measure G. I'm referring to standard 10-5.814B1, which says, among other things, that views from Zuliger Park shall be protected by ensuring that two-story buildings are not clustered or lined up in a manner that creates a wall-like impact on views from the park. Can I have the slide up, please, of the Market Hall? Nope. It was when we came in here to start, that's what you had up there. Can you get it up there again?
We don't have it, sir.
Okay.
You're using up your time, so please.
Okay, so as Mr. Fred Bruning has compared the Market Hall to the Ferry Building in San Francisco, I don't think it can be reasonably disputed that the Market Hall, as portrayed in the renditions from CenterCal, would create a wall-like impact. The question is it an impact on views from Zuliger Park? Well, this structure is bigger than anything that exists in that area. Samba's Restaurant, the Art 10, Captain Kidd's. There's nothing in that area that compares in size to the mass of this Market Hall. I don't think you can simply ignore this. It's a required development standard, and it is not being complied with by this Market Hall. I think if you approve this project, you're approving a violation of a required development standard in Measure G. I have submitted my comments in a more concise form and written form. I'd like them to be admitted, please. The written comments?
I have them right here, sir.
Okay, so are they part of the record?
Yes.
Thank you.
John Gran, Brandon Villalobos, and Alice Murphy.
Good evening, Commissioners. My name is John Gran. I'm a District 4 resident since 1999, and I'm the Vice Chair of the Budget and Finance Commission. And I believe that to understand a city's priorities, you have to watch how they spend their money. And as a whole, and over the last 30 years, it's become evident that one of our priorities was not the waterfront. Up until 2010, when Measure G was passed, and the voters actually asked for the city to build something down there that's different, that's vibrant, that's revitalized. I understand that this project, for the CenterCal project and the waterfront, does adhere to Measure G. And if it doesn't, this process is vetting that out, and this is the process that actually works. When you run a big project or you look through these things, it's a messy process. It's something where people do need to be heard, and I encourage you to keep moving forward with this project. When you look at the numbers, in reading the administrative report that was submitted to City Council by Stephen Proud on July 21st, 2015, by replacing the parking structure and other improvements, it's estimated that the amounts will be anywhere between $37 million and $108 million of costs that the city would have to incur if this project does not go through. One way to kill a project is to slow it down enough until the proponents of the project or whoever just get tired and go somewhere else. This can't happen. We need to keep moving forward. We can move forward, but it's going to be patch work like we've done now. Okay? We've had fires, we've had other issues, we have a crumbling garage, and I believe it's something that we need to take care of. Couple of numbers here. If we go and we have to support bond measures to be able to handle up to the limit of the $108 million, it goes down to about $39 per $100,000 of assessed value on each home. These would be taxes for us to pay for these bonds, which is about $273 per year, or $8,190 over the 30-year life of these bonds. That's what we're facing if we don't have a project like this. We have a project that is viable, it meets the requirements, it's what the people want. They passed Measure G, it has those requirements in there, and if it's not adhering to Measure G, or if there's certain pieces that are not, let's fix that and do that. Lastly, I think that if we can find somewhere for the outrigger folks to launch and be happy, I think that would be good. I think it's nice that they would use the waterfront a lot after their practices. So anyway, thank you very much, and I support this project and hope you move it forward.
Brandon Villalobos, Alice Murphy, and Richard Worsing. Brandon, not here. It says support the waterfront. Alice Murphy, support the waterfront. Richard Worsing, support the waterfront. I guess Penny Worsing's not here either. Support the waterfront. John Hicks. Is he here? He's concerned about time to review the EIR, not seeing enough feedback on traffic, and not enough green space. Barbara Sheegancum. Oppose the approval. Steve Colin. And then Gretchen Lloyd and Barbara Epstein.
Good evening, members of the Harbor Commission. My name is Steve Colin, and I have been a resident of Redondo Beach for 59 years. My family came to Redondo in 1904, and we have always resided in District 3. I served on the Public Improvement Commission after I graduated from school, and I ended up representing the 3rd District on the City Council from 1988 to 1995. And during that 2-year term, I had the experience of having to deal with the pier burning down, the 1988 storms crashing over the breakwater and damaging numerous buildings and hotels, including the Portofino Inn. I was the only attorney on the city council during those 2 terms, and so a great deal of the review and the give and take seemed to land on me and also on the city attorney, Gordon Phillips, at the time. My concern is that many of you don't have the institutional knowledge because you weren't on the council, and in the meetings that I've attended, the public meetings, I haven't heard a discussion of the liability that the city incurred and some of the issues that were involved when the storms hit in 1988. I recall that the major lawsuit against the city was filed by the Portofino Hotel, and Mary Davis and the Portofino Corporation were the ones that instituted that. The concern was that the city was liable because at the time that the marinas and the moles were built in the early 1960s, they were not built to the original specifications and plans. And in looking at the seismic element of the draft EIR and also looking at the staff recommendations, I haven't seen anything addressed that acknowledges that the original construction of the marina and the harbor didn't conform with those original plans. And that's where we ended up being in trouble with these lawsuits. And I think the staff needs to address that issue about whether or not the marinas were constructed in conformance with those plans and you have people available with that institutional knowledge like Sheila Schottker, Gordon Phillips, Paul Conley, Harlan Corwick, all of those people, I think, can shed some light on that. My concern is that should this project be constructed, and a lot of it is going to be constructed on field land, you don't want the developer to come back later and say, this was information that was withheld from us. So I think there needs to be full disclosure.
Your time is up. Thank you. Gretchen Lloyd, Barbara Epstein, and Joanne Newman. Gretchen Lloyd. Very much against this non-harbor friendly development. Barbara Epstein? No? Yes? Again, if folks could come down to the front, I would appreciate it. Joanne Newman and Jane Garrison.
I'm Barbara Epstein, Redondo Beach. I commend you for taking on this very serious decision concerning the waterfront. This is not a mere routine city decision, but an especially moral and ethical one. The city majority has insisted on gifting away public land and parkland to a private for-profit company, a scheme that will rob the residents here of their pier, waterfront, and lagoon for recreation, the best part of life in Redondo Beach. Something to think about. Cease being intimidated by the argument that a right action is impossible because it does not yield maximum profits, or that a wrong action is to be condoned because it pays. The truth is that we've always had a better choice. We all want to improve our waterfront, and the city's always had this choice. The better choice is to apply for parkland funds, engage parkland conservancies to help us fund, plan, and create our own improved public outdoor space for everyone to enjoy. The truth is, lots of people come to enjoy the waterfront. All kinds of people of all ages, and many families and seniors. We see the special needs people at the pier all the time with big smiles, enjoying the fresh air, watching the birds, the boats, paddlers, and ocean views. Just this morning, I saw one of my friends there with her grandchildren posted on Facebook. It was over the weekend that they were there. We personally walk the pier, esplanade, and waterfront all the time and use the benches near Kincaid's to do our exercises. These places will be blocked with private commercial buildings if you approve this fraudulent EIR. Keep in mind, this parkland that the city is giving away is a California state park, as described online in a city ad. People need this space at our waterfront to renew and refresh their spirits. That's why we have parks. You have before you a moral problem. Is it ethical to deprive the people of their valuable public land and their parkland in order for special interests in the city and in real estate development to have their profits? As the famous Aldo Leopold said in the early 1900s...
Ma'am, I'm sorry, your time is up.
I'm going to finish my sentence. Ethical behavior is doing the right thing when no one else is watching, even when doing the wrong thing is legal.
Thank you. Joanne Newman? Not in favor. Jane Garrison and Henry Jorech.
Hi, thank you. My name is Jane Garrison. I live on Catalina in Redondo Beach, bringing up something that hasn't been brought up yet. Items 4A and 4B in the conditional use permit calls for the, allow Center Cal to remove the sea lion barge that sits right in the middle of the harbor. I reached out to the mayor and spoke with him about this. He said that I should come before you today, that he said the city was not in favor of removing it, yet it is in that conditional use permit. It's, I think, one of the things that makes the harbor really special. Anytime I have friends or family who come visit, I always take them out to watch the sea lions on that barge. Plus, the city did spend just recently $70,000 to construct that barge to make sure that the sea lions don't hang out on people's swim platforms on their boats, and they do seem to hang out mostly on that barge. So I'd ask the please to remove that from item 4A and 4B in the conditional use permit. Thank you.
Thank you. Henry Joret. Greg Deet. Don Estner. And then Tom Wyckoff.
Good morning, yeah.
It's
Good evening,
almost.
Commissioners. It will be morning, no, just a few hours. Thank you for giving your sincere consideration of the issues in King Harbor.
Sir, would you state your name,
Oh,
please?
Greg Deedy, lived in Redondo from '77 till 2006. I moved a half mile up to Hollywood Riviera, but still have interests in the King Harbor area. I think in the interest of money, which is what the city has to generate, but it also has to provide some recreation for the public, and maybe the projections on the boat usage have really been depressed, because for 60 years that harbor really has been in need of a boat launch ramp, and it gets kicked down the road like everything else that might be of value to the public. If you really promote this ramp in a place which was originally designed was for Mole C, and now it's because of financial dealings stuck in Mole B, and I hear from the King Harbor Yacht Club and the Outrigger Group, it's a bad idea. Now, these people use it all the time, yet the city ignores it. They ignore their input. You know, well, we got some information that we'll only need 20 spaces. We'll get you up to 32 spaces. I think the purpose of the harbor is for boating and for marine use and for recreational use. We're turning it into this parking lot with a 700-seat movie theater. Really good idea. And, you know, this rundown area. God, we've got the Cheesecake Factory and Kincaid's and Tony's, Polly's on the Pier, the Blue Water Grill. People, you know, we frequent it quite a few times every month. It's really just looking for some revitalization. The financial crunch is caused because of our bloated demands for payroll for safety officials and other employees. We're supporting like 3 police and 3 fire departments. We got 2 retired and 1 working. In a little city, that's really a hell of a burden, especially when you lose a Nordstrom's, we lose Expo Center, we lose the Peyton automobile dealership, we lose all these tax bases. And good luck with the boutiques and all the retail down there, because there's a little outfit called Amazon and eBay and the electronic media that's blowing them away. I think it's totally unreal, and the boaters are the ones that are getting screwed in this deal.
Sir, your time's up. Thank you. Dawn Essner. I think she had to leave. She does not think it's equitable and does not want us to support it. Tom Wyckoff said he can't stay, opposed the matter on the harbor. Linda Wyckoff cannot stay. It's Waterfront project is all wrong, must be redone. Melanie Cohen, Pam Combar, and Cheryl Tashir.
Gotta change this. Good evening. Good evening, Harbor Commission. My name is Melanie Cohen, District 2. Good evening. The South Bay Parkland Conservancy was founded in 2005 at the behest of folks who want to see King Harbor and its immediate confines continue to be available for harbor uses and harbor activities. We are dedicated to leaving a legacy of open space. The environmental impact report for the CenterCal project to develop the Redondo Beach waterfront is being rushed through the review stage. The public has only 10 days to review thousands of pages of information. The South Bay Parkland Conservancy found the EIR responses do not adequately address the following issues. Plantings in median are accepted as open and park space. Plantings in a median. Increase in greenhouse gas emissions by the opening of Harbor Drive south to Torrance Boulevard and removal of the walk and bike plaza above the pier. The current EIR has found no impact of increased traffic from the project on residents or the environment. The blocking of public views and access to the harbor from Harbor Drive and Zuliger Park. The repurposing of public park space in Seaside Lagoon for concessions. The opening of Seaside Lagoon to the harbor, making it unsafe to swim because of water pollution. The location of the public boat ramp with fewer spaces and lack of public access, and also the loss, which I found out tonight, of the Lanakia Outrigger Club on Mulby. But even sadder is the public lands being used for private profit. Please allow this DIR to remain for adequate time to address these issues. It's really important that we address what's in front of us. We need adequate time. The definition of a fair hearing is a judicial proceeding that is conducted in such a manner as to conform to fundamental concepts of justice and equality. Fair hearing means that individuals will have an opportunity to present evidence and support their case. A fair hearing is not necessarily a fair trial, but fairness is still required. It would seem this evening only fair to reject the draft EIR and answer these and the many other questions raised this evening and throughout the EIR process by South Bay residents. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Pam Combar, Cheryl Tashir, and Pat Dacey.
Good evening, Pam Combar. As always, most of everyone has so eloquently stated the pertinent reasons for and against this project. I find it interesting, though, that all the people that are for this, all they're really concerned about is dining and shopping. They're not really concerned about preserving this harbor. I know, and what I heard tonight from the staff, in their presentation, they say they are all for preserving the use of the harbor. How are you preserving the use of the harbor when you are cutting the use for the boaters and the outriggers by half in their square footage, in their parking spaces? I don't know how you're preserving it for that. And my personal soft spot is the Seaside Lagoon. All it will take is one seal to close that lagoon off to the public, because you have to stay away from a seal by 300 feet. It is an endangered species. So if we could alter this EIR, if we could say, let's make the lagoon a swimming pool, yeah, keep it opened up all year, but let's keep it for the children and the public, because once you open it up, the seals are going to come. The barge is not that far away. It doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure that out. I ask you to please review this in depth again. if you have to make some other alterations or deny this at this point and come up with a new plan. Thank you.
Cheryl Tashir, Pat Dacey, and Fazal Hazmi.
Hi, I'm Cheryl Tier. I'm a 47-year resident in Redondo Beach and a homeowner in District 2. And thank you all for bearing with all of these many comments. I know it isn't easy for any of us to sit and listen to all of it. I oppose the Center Cal development as it now stands. I don't oppose revitalizing the harbor. I think everyone agrees that needs to be done. But it is called a waterfront development, which implies that the main attraction is our magnificent ocean and ocean-related recreation and accessibility to these. As we've heard tonight, the accessibility for the Outrigger Canoe Club and for stand-up paddlers and really sounds like safety concerns about where the boat ramp is planned. It really needs some serious reconsideration. Center Cal's plan, highlights a high-end theater, which seems like an inappropriate use of waterfront property, boutique hotels and shops and large parking structures. Doesn't seem as though it primarily is considering the beauty of the oceanfront and the use of the oceanfront by those who really use it. To maximize ocean recreation, then, we need a boat ramp that works. The Seaside Lagoon that many people have responded to, a very popular destination for families, should not be decreased in size and shouldn't be open to the grade F pier water and to the seals, sea lions. Finally, Center Cal's plan has decreased views of the ocean, and I would like to see what will the buildings be like? How high are they? I have yet to see a three-dimensional layout plan of where those, what the profile of it is going to look like, so that we can really see what's going to be blocked and what isn't. So I think there are many concerns that need to be looked at, and even though everyone wants an improvement, let's not rush it, let's do it right. Thank you.
Pat Dacey, Fazal Hashimi, and Jenny Pinner-Moore. So Pat's not here, supports the waterfront. Fazal had to leave early, strongly support. Jenny Pinner-Moore, support the waterfront. Bob Moore, support. Steve Strom, support. Stephanie Dacey, support. Sabrina Hitchcock, opposed to view blockage, movie theater, not enough parking. Robert Amador, Judy Gates, and Doug Christensen.
Good evening. Robert Amador. I live in the Hollywood Riviera. I've been a member of the South Bay community since 1984. First, I want to just thank you for your public service and for all the hard work you've done in this matter. I also want to thank the staff for all their hard work. Some of the comments that I've heard tonight to me are very, very powerful. The first one is the lack of due process, for lack of a better term, in light of the fact that there are only 10 days or so between the issuance of the new DIR and the public's ability to comment. I am definitely in favor of the waterfront project. I have been since the very beginning, in particular because it enhances the enjoyment of the property here, not just for the community, but also for the entire larger community and for people from other states or other communities who may be visiting here. one of our strongest constitutional rights is the ability to enjoy our property and to pursue happiness. And I think this will significantly fulfill that right as a general matter. However, I've actually been moved by many of the comments I've heard here tonight. And the whole process is really a great thing to experience, as arduous as it is, because it really exemplifies, the democratic process. So I'm here really to encourage you to continue to work to hopefully adopt the project. I think 90% of it is basically done, but certainly I think you should give strong consideration to many of the comments here tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Robert Amador. Oh, that was you. I need a break. Judy Gates. Opposed. Doug Christensen. Full support, revitalization, no plans perfect. Jeffrey Gilbert. Mary Ewell.
Hi, I'm Jeffrey Gilbert, District 2 resident. I'm also the Executive Secretary for the Southwest Anglers, one of the oldest sportsmen's clubs in this area. I'm hearing many people who want the revitalization plan done right. How this is going to be done seems to be the major argument and a matter of many, many opinions. We all want the best for our area, and to expand and improve our valuable waterfront and recreational resources is of primary concern to us. I attended 2 public outreach meetings along with members of my club regarding the boat launch planning, and people from all interested groups, from the kayakers to the seaside lagooners to the members of the Marina and Yacht Club and boaters and fishermen, stand-up paddle boards, yada, yada. They attended and they shared their ideas, gave their input, their concerns for the various locations that were planned. One of the things for the boat launch, which I understand is required, is that we're going to have more than one lane. You're going to have a major traffic problem and congestion problem with only one lane. This was kicked around back and forth for the safety concerns, for the harbor area, as well as the marina, the stand-up paddlers, people at the lagoon. And to have a single lane is just not the right direction. You're planning for the future. You're planning for something not based on 20 boats today or 20 boats, this week. You're planning on something that this area has, and that's a place to have boats. The other beaches in this area don't have that, the other cities. Anyway, we do need 2-lane boat ramps and hopefully more. A single lane will result in traffic congestion in the ocean and land side. This in return will result in safety issues for any of for the ocean as well as in the waterway and the land. Mole C was the most logical, intelligent location for the ramp, providing enough parking, access, and ocean and land side. For ocean and land side, then Mole A and B. Mole A was kicked out because of safety concerns, and yet this did come up during the last meeting that I attended here for the commission. The enhancement and thus the encouragement of recreational use is a major factor as cited by the city staff in this area. And by limiting the boat launch to a single lane for larger boats is going to limit and not enhance your recreational use. And so I think please consider 2 lanes. Regarding the seals, Portofino should understand that they really stink. I would be more concerned about the smell of that. And by the way, the seals are stuck behind the bait, so you can't see them anyway, but you sure can hear them at night. They're probably a lot noisier than boats being launched. So thank you.
Thank you. Mary Ewell. Opposed. Sam and Eloise Elder. Oh, I'm sorry.
I was waiting as you suggested. Mary Ewell, District 2, 40-year resident. It is now painfully obvious that CenterCal and its CEO/attorney, Fred Bruning, was not adequately vetted, as we have to contend with vast ignorance over the liabilities of his plan for Seaside Lagoon and the misplaced and dysfunctional boat ramp. He has never done a waterfront project before, only landlocked commercial developments. This is all he knows. The city chose CenterCal in a 4-to-1 vote from all other bidders for developing the waterfront. Why? Because CenterCal did not require a due diligence clause. Without a due diligence clause signed by a potential or contracted developer, there exists a blank check opportunity to drive the cost of the development through the roof because of unforeseen costs. Now the city taxpayers get to cover these unforeseen costs. This project was projected to be a $300 million project and is now at a $400 million level. Whereas to repair the underground parking that we have and that does not obstruct any view would cost $17 million in a bond measure, not an increase in property taxes using the $1.6 million annual parking fees. Why would any logical entity kill the golden goose that lays a steady $1.6 million a year for a flimsy proposal without a due diligence provision? If our city managers and administration can blatantly neglect to keep up the present parking structure that has been profitable on a regular basis, who can trust them with this gigantic $400 million undertaking? What homeowner, of which I am one, would neglect their property and then assume they can scrap it? Along the same lines, the fact that our mayor has vetoed the examination of the financial records or books of CenterCal and its main lender leaves it liable to be sold to other entrepreneurs if it goes belly up. In an email after the city council meeting, Councilman Samarco was incredulous, stating, "Why on earth would the mayor veto it?" The reason to include that kind of information in advance is to make sure that the developer is not at risk of being unable to complete a project, he wrote. Such provisions only serve to protect the city and do not harm the developer if the developer is legitimate. Why indeed?
I'm sorry, your time is up. Thank you.
I have copies to submit.
Is there a motion to receive and file?
So moved. Second.
Sam and Eloise Elder. Says in favor of Mole B. Michael Gervais on Sapphire Street. Support of Waterfront, 30-year resident. Lisa Gervais, also in support. I guess she's not here either. Ben Sloan. Opposed. Frank Angel. Then Ellis Raskin and John Vander Woun. What?
Good evening, council members. My name is Frank Angel. I'm attorney representing Building a Better Redondo. Tonight, you have heard it from staff. You have basically no legal choice other than to require recirculation of this EIR. Why? Because you have received significant new information of substantial new elements to the project that were, and I'm sorry to say, not within the scope of this EIR, including the relocated boat ramp that wasn't even the one that was rejected in the draft EIR to Mole B. with all the environmental justice and coastal access impacts that come with it, that there's not a peep in the EIR about it. And I'm talking about now concentrating, and not just environmental justice and coastal public recreational access impacts, I'm also talking about safety impacts, and impacts that have been described to you in the first comments that we've submitted earlier today. Concentrating now all of a sudden in one spot, the human-powered water vessel access, the boat ramp, kicking out the Outrigger Canoe Club, too, probably. You've heard it from them. They will not be able to continue their operation. How are you going to defend that before the Coastal Commission? Terminating hundreds of people who want to have coastal access just on one single access, and that's the Outrigger Canoe operation. Not even talking about making it impossible now by relocating the human-powered vessel launch point to Mole B and all the difficulties that requires for people who want to do that, another low or moderate income recreational activity to get there. You cannot proceed with this. You render Mr. Bruning a favor by ordering recirculation because otherwise the court will do it for you and it'll be holding up this project far longer than anyone would like to. The other reason why we need recirculation is because you have a new alternative. It's been submitted with the city. It's the Coastal Care Initiative. It makes it possible, as so many people said, for the project to go forward, but an environmentally superior alternative. And when you have an environmentally superior alternative that's been submitted after circulation of the draft EIR that was not yet submitted before and not analyzed before, then that is something that a recirculated EIR has to consider. Now, one way to think about it is just to continue at least this public hearing. This is just 500 of the 1,000 pages of the draft EIR that's before
Sir,
you.
your time
If
is
you
up.
have read it,
Sir.
raise your hands.
Sir.
Thank you.
Ellis Raskin. John Vander Woon would be next.
Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Ellis Raskin. I'm a law clerk at Angel Law, which represents Building a Better Redondo. And I want to pick up right where Mr. Angel left off. This is, in fact, the second volume of that final EIR. And if you were to read every single page in this, and it sounds like you have, and assuming it takes you about a minute to read every page, there's quite technical information in here, that's about 24 hours worth of reading.
We're so tired. That's why we're tired.
And so, members of the public, they have jobs, they have families, and assuming conservatively that there's 1 page of responses worth for every 50 pages that you've read, you're talking easily 40 hours of work that would go into evaluating everything that's gone into this final EIR. It's just not reasonable and it's not realistic to expect members of the public to be able to do that in 10 days. And that's why it is critical for you to give people more time to engage in what's already a very vibrant discourse. Just think about how much more intelligent and informed comments you can have about this project if you were to give the public reasonable time to read what has been distributed in these comments and responses in the final EIR. So please give the public more time. Thank you.
Thank you. John Vander Woo. Support the project. Dinah Larry. Joan Riley and Corey Moore.
Good evening, Harbor Commission. I've lived, worked, volunteered, or played in Redondo Beach for over 55 years. I spent 17 of those years in the harbor, so I know what goes on. It's time for an upgrade. The City Council selected Center Cal. Center Cal has, they were going to bring the upgrades to life in the form of significant redevelopment. After months of input, countless revisions, CenterCal has patiently listened and stayed on track to do something that we can all be proud of and call something that we can all be proud of in our own backyard. It's not going to be perfect for everyone, but there will be something for everyone. We're long overdue. I believe it's time for us to move forward with the project together and enjoy our beautiful city together. I support the project. I believe we can make modifications to improve it if something isn't reaching its financial projections or isn't working out exactly right down the road once we have something going. But we really need to get moving. We have a fabulous city here. I'm on the tourism committee, and when you're selling the city and you take them down to a very rundown place, it's kind of embarrassing when they say, well, you know, what's up the street? So we really need to, you know, get moving on something. We can make some changes later if we need to, but we really do need to move forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Joan Riley cannot stay, wants to extend the time on the EIR, concerned about building heights. Corey Moore, support the project. Martin Holmes, no comment. Oh, he's here? Sorry. And then Hank Bauer.
Good evening, Commission. My name is Martin Holmes from Redondo Beach. I am a co-founder of Rescue Our Waterfront. The reason we're here today is because the city has neglected for many years to maintain the parking infrastructure and does not want to pay the bill to maintain that. So they've looked and turned to CenterCal and said, CenterCal, will you pay for my parking structure? And CenterCal has said, yes, I'll pay for that, but I need a really big project to do it. So there are three reasons why I'm opposed to this project as it is today. First of all, I think it's a risky business plan. Second of all, if it does succeed, I think it's bad for the community. And third of all, I think we can do better. CenterCal has isolated themselves from all the risk. They have a shell corporation, Redondo Waterfront LLC, which will have a lease in our water for 99 years. So basically, if the project fails or goes bankrupt, CenterCal gets to live and see another day, but their shell corporation goes bankrupt. Secondly, there are no legally binding leases for existing businesses within the harbor, a conditional lease. This isn't a formal lease because I know the project doesn't exist, but a conditional lease is a lease that says that if the entitlements are granted, whatever businesses are down there, Nausea's, the Slip, whoever, are going to be paying X amount of rent for X location. This is just an open, honest, candid way to be honest with the businesses that are there today and tell them, are you going to be part of this project or not? Why not be forthcoming with the businesses that are there today? But that doesn't exist right now. Additionally, CenterCal has refused to maintain a minimum ownership period for the project. So once they have the entitlements, they could turn around and sell it to any developer. They could sell it to foreign investors or to Donald Trump. Additionally, CenterCal does not pay lease to the city unless they get a 10% return on their investment. The city's very own AECOM financial analysis said that rents will need to be $7 to $11 a square foot per month. Okay? Now, the city of Los Angeles did a financial analysis for ports of call where they say that rents for a premium waterfront destination average $3 to $4 per square foot per month. So here in Redondo Beach, we're talking 7 to 11. How does that compare? The average in the South Bay is $2.26. Barney's Beanery, which is prime location in Redondo Beach, is $3.25. Santa Monica Place is $5, and 3rd Street Promenade is $7. So you're planning on building 3rd Street Promenade right here in Redondo Beach. We can do better. Rescue Our Waterfront has presented an initiative which will go before the voters and give them a choice. That choice allows a better alternative. What might that better alternative be? KKN Financial, the city's financial consultant, came before the city and said that a bond measure would give us $60 million for infrastructure repair. If we had that $60 million and repaired the infrastructure, then the CenterCal project could be smaller and everyone could be happy. Thank you.
Your time is up. Thank you. Hank Bauer. Concerned about traffic and height restrictions. Stephen Shoemaker, thinks it'll be a wonderful improvement. Ted and Karen Craddock support the waterfront development. David Coe, support the waterfront development. Dylan Gregory, no comment. Matthew Gregory, no comment. Cindy Elias, project doesn't accommodate the needs, compromises the harbor. John Zalasco, fully support the waterfront. Oh, sorry. I was like trying to move along here. And then Gina DiPietro and Eugene Solomon.
Fast on your feet.
Thank you for staying here all day. I know it's a long time. My name's John Zalasco. I'm a resident of Redondo. I've been a South Bay resident for 20 plus years. I have nothing to gain by speaking here except to say that I'm going to be able to enjoy the waterfront a little bit more. This may come as a shock to some of the people in the audience, but I do like to go to a movie and not stream it at my house. I do like to go to a restaurant and not order takeout. I do like to go and enjoy recreational activities as well. And I think this will be a development that'll let us do all of those activities in Redondo, walkable. And that's what we've needed for years. So I really do hope that the people that are against this understand that this will be better for everybody in Redondo. And sometimes you can turn into, I don't know, I don't really want to, I mean, it's kind of like protest zombies, where every single thing that comes up, you're going to have a group of people that are going to be against it. But this is better for so many people. And I do understand like there's some issues with the Outrigger Society, et cetera, and I know that in time, everybody can be accommodated. But overall, this is a great system. CenterCal has come up with an incredible plan. It greatly disappoints me, once again, that there are people that are going to come up with poison pill litigation to try and stall Redondo. I hope that the Harbor Commission will move forward with the great design that they've proposed and do it as soon as possible. Redondo deserves nice things. Thanks.
Thank you. Gina DiPietro. I'm concerned about migratory birds, wants to forward a letter. Eugene Solomon.
Good evening, commissioners and staff. Thank you. My name's Eugene Solomon. I moved to Redondo Beach in 1985. Bilious rhetoric sprinkled with unicorn dust. That is the response to the draft EIR. I would like to point out that Mr. Jones, in one of his staff reports, stated that the project was largely consistent with the Measure G zoning. In legal circles, largely consistent equals arbitrary and capricious. When you have a zoning and you allow people to use their own judgment to vary widely, what does largely consistent mean? Is it 50%? Is it 60%? Is it 70%? Mr. Witzansky, in one of the statements here at the commission, stated that we looked at the Seaside Lagoon and we talked about it being a pool, but we decided we could have a pool anywhere. Well, we can have a movie theater anywhere. Arbitrary and capricious. If you have optional items like the sea lion barge, optional, whether we include it or not, arbitrary and capricious. Polly's on the pier itself, the fishing pier, arbitrary and capricious. If you continue to marginalize, minimize, and eliminate parking spots for boating, parking spots for the boat hoist, or recreation, if you limit recreation and make it valet parking, you are not largely consistent with the zoning. You are not enhancing and preserving the harbor. You are marginalizing and eliminating harbor uses for uses that can be anywhere, as your own city staff has told you. It is not something that should be done. The AECOM report that you have as part of the draft EIR, it has all of these fantastical financial projections. And yet, when I met with Mr. Bruning, and I'd be happy to affirm under oath that he told me this, I asked him about the AECOM report, that I was concerned that much of it was to outperform the marketplace. And he said, we don't even pay attention to that. I'm ignoring the AECOM report. We have our own numbers that we use internally. If Mr. Bruning isn't even concerned or relying upon the AECOM report, why should we? Why would we do that? Arbitrary and capricious. Insufficient parking, queuing on city streets, adding lanes that will go into F-rated turning areas. It's ridiculous. It should be sent back. 10 days is not enough time to properly analyze this. On a personal note, there's a lot of chatter online about this project and about the people that inhabit the pier, that it's scary and that they're filled with out-of-towners. It's scary on weekends and not reflective of Redondo's demographics. This is from the woman who heads up the Waterfront crew. You see it online. It's scary, out-of-towners. I love the pier. I go down there all the time. Public access is for everybody, not for a few. Valet parking to use the harbor resources, it's ridiculous, and it eliminates or marginalizes public access, the greatest resource that we have as residents of Redondo and as citizens of California. Thank you.
Naomi Elroy? No comment. Joanne Gallen? Supports. Brian Muntz?
Hello, thank you, by the way, for actually paying attention to us this whole time. My name is Brian Muntz. I am the junior coach at Lanaquila Outrigger Club. And first of all, I want to say I actually support the Waterfront project. I think it's going to be a great idea. I'm just here as one of the other people asking that the Mole B boat ramp be taken or separated from the project and looked at and possibly move back to Mole C. My reason stating, so like I said, I'm the junior coach. We have over 100 juniors and kids that come through. We have some of the best programs in the world. Currently, we have the Junior World Champion came out of Redondo. My biggest thing is safety. That's my biggest thing ever when I'm coaching is the safety of my kids and safety of my juniors. And where we launch our boats and where we are would be right with where the boat ramp is. And I'm just nervous that we're going to have issues with kids paddling boats and boaters and jet skis and everything else that launches off that ramp being congested while people are waiting for their trailers to come back in the water and everything else like that. I think it's just sort of it'll turn into a nightmare, and I just don't want to see somebody get run over or see somebody have that problem actually in the water. Whatever happens on land with the congestion and everything like that, everybody else has talked about that. My concern is my kids on the water. And my junior crews, and having an incident that I don't want to have to deal with someday. So that's my big thing is having, like Tony Hart said earlier, we have over 100 kids out on the water on days, and we do really well on working with water safety and working with the Harbor Patrol and making sure these kids are not only participating in something that they can't bring their phones out to, and they can't be playing Pokemon out there and everything else like that. I mean, they just have to paddle, and teaching them about water safety, and most of them become lifeguards, and they start doing junior lifeguards and everything from this. And I just don't want to see that kind of congestion. If it moves over to Mole C, the boaters have a clear access to get out to the ocean, which is I'm sure where most of the fishermen want to go, and the jet skis and everything else like that, and it kind of keeps us safer. And same thing with the sailboats coming out of, the junior program coming out of King Harbor Yacht Club. So thank you guys for your time, and enjoy the rest of your evening.
There was one comment here, there's no name on it, a whole written thing. Since there's no name, I'm not going to bother with that. Bick Wong and Ricardo Mendoza. Great opportunity, bring a lot of good business. Candace Nafisi. Against the proposal. Nils Niharim. And then Teresa Caraway.
Good evening, Commission, city staff, great people of Redondo Beach, Nils Niharim, District 1. co-founder of Rescue Our Waterfront, and essentially our organization was founded on the principle of defending for preserving coastal dependent access in the harbor. Three major points: boat ramp, seaside lagoon, and the CEQA document that we are discussing tonight. So number one is boat ramp. I was under the impression it was supposed to be delivered under a separate time, a separate project. Tonight it's being performed to us, given to us as one individual item. The Mole B option is an option that's never been really looked at by the public, so we want to be able to look at that further. Comments were made that there's no good location in the harbor for a boat launch ramp. That is correct. Unfortunately, there's a great location in the harbor, and that's on Mole D. And Mole D provides a phenomenal location where we can get 60-plus boat parking spots and great access to the south turning basin and great queuing lane access right off of Harbor Boulevard to not impact Portofino and other locations of the harbor. Seaside Lagoon, the swimming area is being eliminated. The safe swimming area is being eliminated. The total swimming area, there hasn't been any reports done on the total swimming area if that's being decreased. And if that's being decreased, that is a significant impact to the Seaside Lagoon recreational access and abilities. We keep talking about the marine mammals. And La Jolla is a great example. Mother's Beach down there, they said it would never happen that marine mammals would take over Mother's Beach. It did. Now humans can no longer use La Jolla Cove. We've talked about an actual plan for the marine mammal abatement. What is that actual plan? Because you cannot harass any marine mammals. You cannot defer any marine mammals and get rid of, hit them with paint or move them or loud noises. That's called harassment, and that's a fine. Repurposing of land on Seaside Lagoon, that is not what we, the citizens of Redondo Beach, want. That is not appropriate use of Seaside Lagoon and Park. 10 days is not enough to review the final EIR. City of Hermosa Beach also concludes with that. There have been significant changes, significant impacts to those changes, and we want a full recirculation of the environmental impact report. At the end of the day, this is about public property for private profits. And we want to ensure that for the next 99 years, the citizens 50 years from now have the ability to look back and say this was a due and just process and that the harbor uses were saved. Thank you very much and have a great night.
Therese Caraway.
Thank you for listening to us for so long. You know, everyone is very tired. I again come as a member of Lanakeela Outrigger Canoe Club. I have two concerns about this project. I understand our harbor needs to be revitalized, and I support it wholeheartedly. Again, Lanakeela is a really amazing club. We allow people to not just come visit our harbor, but use it in a safe manner and to get out on the water and actually enjoy it. We are very safe. That's my other concern. As Brian spoke earlier, when we put our boats out, in front of our little dock, there's cross traffic of very large motorized vessels coming in front of our dock. And we have to watch, like you're crossing the street, to make sure that we do not get in their way. And we get out there and are very respectful and get out in the middle of the harbor so we don't impede traffic in any way. With the launch on Mole B, if you look, it's a one lane out there and a one lane back, and there's cross traffic in front of that mole, such that large motorized vessels are coming over in front of that. And if you have boat launching coming across that traffic and sailboats, little training sailboats out there, it becomes very congested. It's a choke point, and it can become very dangerous. We've all seen those funniest home videos and laughed at them when you see people trying to launch boats who don't do it all the time. They put the truck in first and the trailer's behind them, or they put the trailer in first and the boat sinks or something like that. If that were a perfect world and things were to move smoothly throughout that very small turning radius of an area, no matter if you've added parking spots or not, very small. And if you try and put boats out there, and if they were to move along smoothly, people know what they're doing, in a perfect world, that would be great. But oftentimes things go wrong more than they go right. People don't do this all the time. They back their trailers up, the boat falls off, the boat isn't tied down properly, and now you've got a choke point that's even greater when you have us launching, you have very large motorized vessels coming in there and now have to wait for these guys to do this, and they can't get out fast enough. It's over by Mole Sea. There's a perfect place, big parking, and the people can get out there. There's a nice large area where it's an ingress, where they can get all their things together, watch how the traffic is moving, and then join into it, like merging onto a freeway very safely. In front of ours, you have to either hurry up and get out of someone's way, or you have to hurry up and get it back in. So I urge you to please reconsider putting that launch ramp on Mole B. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Okay, I have a bunch of cards here that just say comment only. So I think we've gotten all the cards through, so I'm just going to whip through these real quick. Pam Tuzoka, Mulbeam needs more consideration. Dan DeFree, strongly opposed to the boat ramp on Mulbee. Renee Shirafana, opposed to having boat ramp on Mulbee. Dan Robosh, no boat ramp on Mulbee. Tanya Welsh, not in favor of the boat ramp on Mulbee. Corina Cameron, no boat ramp on Mulbee. Sandy Rohrbach, opposed to unsafe for the boat launch. Not in favor. Teresa Sanchez, not in favor of the boat ramp. Blake Rohrbosch, Lanica Outrigger Club, no to the boat ramp on Mulbee. Julian Harvey, favor of the project. Tashia Hinchcliffe, opposed to non-waterfront activities. Allison Arnoff, opposed to the plan. I don't know whether this is a comment or not. Richard Wilden. Right.
Hi, my name is Richard Wilden. I've been boating since I've been young, so that's quite a long time, and 23 years of that boating has been in King Harbor. I've had sailboats, powerboats, and trailer boats, and I'd like to say I've also looked at the ramp issue over the past couple of years. I support the ramp on Mulbee. I think the proposed ramp has got many constraints, and I think Mulbee is a sensible solution to solving those constraints. As I understand it, it's got 2 lanes and a hoist, and that feels like a good set of equipment for that ramp. I certainly don't want the outrigger canoes to be moved, so I'm sure there can be a way to find the solution to solve that problem as well. I think the ramp has a great advantage. It can be constructed quickly. This can be an operation in a year or less, I'm assuming, to solve the problem of ramps the city has not had before. I understand the Coastal Commission likes it. If that's the case, I think that this is an elegant solution, common sense solution to where to put a boat ramp, and I support it. Thank you all very much.
Thank you. Okay, we have exhausted the comment cards. I'd like to find, we've been at this now for over 3 hours. So how many more people want to speak who have not submitted a card? So we've got, what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So we got like over a half an hour. So I would suggest we take a break and come back. So we'll be back at 10 o'clock. May I have a motion? I guess I have to have a motion to recess.
I'll move. Second.
Okay, all those in favor? Opposed? Hearing none, so thank you.